This is the story of Duan Fei, who was just an ordinary college student 20 years ago, until a massive zombie outbreak hit the world that turned his life upside down. For the past 20 years, he's been surviving in a world filled with all kinds of dangers. He kept pushing on because he didn't want to die and face his family in the afterlife, whom he had abandoned 2 decades earlier for his own selfish survival. But after enduring those brutal years, he eventually meets his end and wakes up back in time. Just like in any classic regression story, he's totally bewildered by how everything has changed around him. There's no smell of rotting flesh, and he spots a photo of himself with his sister taken before the apocalypse. That's when he realizes that he's actually regressed back in time. He looks in the mirror and sees his younger self, which wipes out any lingering doubts, and he is now pretty damn sure that he really has come back in time. He quickly ran out of the room to find his sister. He clearly remembers the moment the apocalypse began, when a low-level zombie broke into their house. His cowardly self was so scared that he just fell to the floor, leaving his crippled sister in her wheelchair, and she fell prey to that zombie. Later on, he realized how dumb that mistake was, and the regret tormented him for the rest of his life. But now that he's back in time, he's determined to break free from that regret. He promises himself that he will protect Xinyue, his sister, the only family he has left in this life. When he reaches the living room, he doesn't find her there. He looks at the clock and sees it's December 20th, 2012, and the envelope on the table must be his college acceptance letter. This gives him reassurance that he's really regressed back to before the apocalypse began, which means his sister is definitely alive. He opens the door to her room and finds his sister staring out of the window quietly. She turns around at his presence and asks the reason for his visit. The guy gets overwhelmed with emotion. He trembles and bursts into tears like a toddler. Without a second thought, he dashes over and hugs her tight. She looks bewildered and asks if he had a nightmare, while he just keeps apologizing and crying. His sister hugs him back to comfort him, and that's when he realizes there's no time for catching up. He needs to prepare for the apocalypse that's about to break out. He tells her he has to go somewhere and asks her not to leave the house. She agrees and pulls up her hair clip and hands it to him. She reminds him of the promise they made. He would take her hairpin with him whenever he went outside, and once he returned safely, he would put it back in her hair. He acknowledges this and leaves quietly. As he suits up, he reminds us that the apocalypse starts in the early morning of December 21st, which means there are less than 20 hours left. No one knows why it happened, but half of humanity turned into zombies, and animals mutated into monsters. Anyone they bit also turned into zombies. Now that he's regressed, he can't just sit around and twiddle his thumbs, so his first goal is to stock up on supplies. As he gathers all sorts of his sister's favorite foods, the counter attendant reminds him that he's already bought a ton of stuff, so she is not sure how he is going to haul them out of here. But he tells her he wants to buy more of those cookies and points outside to the truck he rented to store all the stuff. Once the truck is loaded, the driver jokingly asks him if he's preparing for an apocalypse, and Duan just responds positively. The man laughs, thinking Duan is just being funny. When our boy sees a photo of the truck driver's daughter, he feels kind of sad for this guy and his family. Later, dawn is upon them, and once the truck driver unloads everything at Duan's house, Duan hands him a box of cookies and tells him to take them for his daughter, and further requests the driver to protect his family well. The man has no clue what that is supposed to even mean, but takes the cookies and speeds off, still unsure of what just happened. It's 8 p.m. now, and Duan prepares a weapon for himself. He also finishes a paper map, knowing that once the catastrophe hits, the internet will go down, and phones will be as useful as bricks. Suddenly, his sister burst into the room looking totally annoyed. She gets even more annoyed when she sees all of this stuff in the room. She starts yelling at him because she just got a message from the bank saying he blew all their savings. Duan quickly tries to calm her down and asks if she would believe him if he told her that the apocalypse is coming soon. Of course, she thinks he has a fever and checks his temperature, but surprisingly for her, it feels fine. She wonders if he's gone crazy instead. She keeps on asking him about his unusual behavior, but he just tells her that she'll understand in a few hours. So for now, he tells her to take this chance to breathe in the clean air and bid farewell to this peaceful era. His sister grows concerned seeing him talk nonsense, but as much as she hates to admit it, she has a gut feeling that what he's saying might actually come true. We then learn that the first wave of the zombie apocalypse is called Revelation. It's going to last an entire week, and by the end of it, nearly 90% of humans on this planet will either be dead or turned into zombies. The lucky few who survive these 7 hellish days will move on to a new evolution, and he is hoping that he and his sister will be among that 10%. Finally, it's 12 a.m. on December 21st. People are going about their lives as usual, and everything seems fine for now. Among them is this fat guy who gets a message from his boss to drag his ass into the office as soon as possible. Of course, the drunken fatty gets annoyed, and just then, a dog barks at him. In a fit of frustration, he hits the dog with his phone. But this isn't just any stray dog, and the fatty finds out the hard way. This is how the fatty becomes the first victim, as his fat ass gets ripped apart. Chaos erupts in the city as zombies and monsters start ravaging every street and road. The normal citizens have turned into zombies as soon as they are bitten by other zombies. Duan and his sister are watching everything happening through their apartment window. His sister exclaims in shock, asking what's going on, why people are biting and tearing at each other. Duan grimly reveals that everyone has turned into zombies, and that the apocalypse has started. Suddenly they hear frantic banging on their door. Xin Yue recognizes the voice and tells her brother that it's Miss Huang. Fear grips Duan's mind as he realizes that the future is repeating itself. He remembers the last time the older version of him opened the gate, and as soon as he saw the zombie, he ran away. His sister quickly rushes to open the door. As soon as she does, we see this fat woman standing there, and Xin Yue gets terrified when she notices the zombie behind her, who has already bitten this lady. Before we see what happens next, the scene transitions to Duan's past life. His senior, who goes by the name Qing, notices his sulking face and asks if he's worried about the important mission they're about to carry out. Duan reminds him that his mood is always like this, to which Qing laughs and says it's true. He claims he's never seen Duan laugh. He further assures him that now that they've dealt with high-level zombies, this next mission will be a breeze. Or so the senior thought, until they found themselves surrounded by high-level zombies. Panic erupts in the camp, but everyone still tries to fight off these monstrosities because the mission is crucial, and they can't afford to lose. Despite their efforts, it's no use. Everyone is trashed and stomped by these giant monsters, and it's only our boy Duan who is barely holding his ground. He calls out to his senior to join the fight, but this coward just stands on the sidelines instead of helping. This punk mutters a few words that only Duan was able to hear, then takes off, leaving Duan there to fend for himself. In the present, Duan finally understands the kind of despair and hopelessness his sister felt when he ran away, leaving her to become zombie food. This realization fuels his determination, and he throws the weapon he crafted from a distance, knocking that bastard down with a single hit. His sister asks what happened to their neighbors, and he reminds her that they've turned into zombies, but he assures her that he won't let her get hurt. Just then, the same zombie charges at them again, so he tells her to close her eyes. As she does, he slashes the zombie's filthy hand just before it can grab her. But the monster doesn't back down. It charges at her once more. Duan quickly pushes her wheelchair back and thrusts his sharp knife right into the monster's foot, then pulls out the other knife from its eye. Using his past combat knowledge, he delivers a series of powerful slashes to the zombie. His sister begins to open her eyes, and sees him mercilessly butchering the zombie. She quickly approaches him from behind, telling him to just stop. Finally, he halts his relentless attack, and the zombie lies dead on the ground. Tears well up in her eyes as she tells her brother he looked terrifying just now. He apologizes and reassures her that he will protect her no matter the cost. Suddenly, a system notification rings out in his head, informing him that he has killed a zombie and obtained 3 evolution points, and that the points have activated the system. He looks around frantically, wondering who just spoke. But then something begins to surround him. His vision blurs, and he finds himself standing smack dab in the middle of a shrine. Giant statues loom over him from every side, and one deity statue is holding a leaf in her hand. The surrounding statues shimmer with blue light and zap him with energy. It turns out they are broadcasting a message directly into his mind, and he feels like his head is about to explode. The evolution system activates promptly, and he undergoes some gene reconfiguration and evolution. Once the process is complete, he looks like a total badass, and he can feel overwhelming power coursing through his body. From what he gathered from the messages appearing in his brain, this is called an evolution tree. It has upgraded his beta genes to sigma genes, helping him evolve. Now he feels a connection to this evolution tree. However, he learned that there's a price to continue evolving. The price is paid with evolution points. The system uses the points he earns from killing zombies to enhance his genes, allowing him to choose improvements in strength, battle skills, survival skills, detection skills, and more. Starting the evolution system consumed 1 evolution point, which left him with 2 points to spend. When the system asks if he would like to use them, he responds with a resounding yes, without a second thought. He then gets the choice of which attribute he wants to enhance. He thinks for a moment, and realizes that while he has the knowledge and experience from the past, his body is still weak. So, he decides to invest both points into his strength. Once the strength boost is complete, he strides out of the shrine, determined to save his sister and avoid repeating past mistakes. He wakes up to find himself on the couch, with his sister having fallen asleep over his lap. She stirs awake, and tears of joy well up in her eyes when she sees her brother alive. She had almost thought that he was dead. He gently pats her head and reassures her that nothing will happen to him. As promised, he makes it clear that he won't abandon her, no matter what. He decides to take care of Miss Huang's corpse, knowing that her dead body will attract more zombies. To his surprise, he finds that her body has already been taken care of, with a trail of blood showing that someone dragged her down the stairs. It's almost 4 a.m., and we see our boy rummaging through wardrobe for clothes to wear. After getting this jacked up body, his old clothes just don't fit over his chiseled frame anymore. Suddenly, his sister comes in with their father's clothes. He promptly takes them and puts them on. Speaking of his father, he reflects on how, when he was 10, their parents left them all alone. After that, they would send a sum of money every year, but they never heard anything else from them. After the start of the apocalypse, he searched for them for 10 years, but he couldn't find any trace and ultimately had to give up. He finally steps out the door, thinking that he's sure their parents can protect them, but his sister is his top priority. God, I'm tired of narrating how desperate he is to protect his sister. From this point onward, I won't repeat this shit over and over. His sister then mentions that she can't figure out how he got so much taller in just one night. He shrugs and replies that he doesn't understand it either, and claims that it must be because he was meant to look like a Sigma after all, so his body grew. Of course, his sister doesn't buy this nonsense, so he tries to change the subject by saying he needs to go outside for a bit. But she protests and tells him to not go, saying she's scared because the world has changed so rapidly. She doesn't want her disability to become a burden for him, and now she's worried that he might get hurt or lost. He replies that he just needs to clear out a few zombies, otherwise they'll always be in danger. They can't let what happened to Miss Huang repeat itself, and it's crucial to gather as many survivors as possible because the more help they have, the better. As always, she gives him her hairpin, telling him to be back by noon for lunch. With that little promise exchanged between the sweet siblings, he leaves the apartment. The moment he steps outside, he looks like an absolute Sigma assassin, dagger in hand. He follows the blood trail and eventually spots a bald zombie eating away Miss Huang's hair in order to grow his own. The hair-obsessed creature notices him and quickly launches itself at him, but Duan just slashes the monster like it's no big deal. The system notification promptly pops up, showing that he has killed a first-stage zombie and earned 1 evolution point. He then notices that this time, upgrading his strength requires 6 points, while upgrading his mind would need 10 points. I guess he has a long way to go before he can think about upgrading mind. He recalls hearing about the importance of the mind during his past life in the Dark Ages. Back then, the only defense against those strange monsters was awakened humans with different powers. Each awakener had unique abilities, but one power stood above the rest, the mind. Once awakened, these mind users could dominate others, making them some of the strongest awakeners out there. Even if he upgrades his mind's attribute by 1 level, the next level would require 7 times more points to upgrade. To awaken the ability that comes with mind, he would need at least 10 levels of mind, and right now there's no way for him to obtain that many points. So, he decides to ignore the mind for now and focuses on upgrading other attributes like strength and speed. He snaps his attention back to the task at hand. As he enters another apartment, all he sees is a bloody mess. Looking around, he spots a dog strap smeared in blood and decides to follow the trail, which leads him to a woman dead in the bathtub. Right at that moment, a zombie creeps up behind him, its disgusting mouth opening wide to take a bite. But Duan reacts quickly and deep-throats the bastard with his dagger and then swings again to blow its head off with the next strike. Once again, the system notification pops up, showing that he has obtained 1 evolution point. He feels anxious after that close call and decides not to let his guard down even with the evolution tree on his side. He begins his descent in the building, knowing there are still 10 floors left to clear out. As he moves toward the next apartment, we notice a woman looking at him through the peephole in her door, ready to blow off the head of any zombie that might approach. Duan promptly calls out, saying that if there's nobody inside, he's going to pry the door open. The girl quickly opens the door and asks what he wants. He introduces himself, explaining that he's patrolling the building to clear out the zombies and save his family. She responds that her room is safe and tells him to go away. But as soon as she tries to shut the door, he plants his foot inside, making it clear that he wants to see for himself, so he tells her to cooperate. Given the way he's looking at her, with his bloody dagger in hand, it's no wonder she's terrified of this stranger trying to force his way in. Surprising as it is, the lady gives him permission to enter. After thoroughly inspecting the apartment, he confirms that it's indeed safe and that there are no zombies. His gaze then falls on a photo of her with her husband and child, prompting him to ask about the 2 of them. She explains that her son is out for tuition and her husband went to pick him up, but they both haven't come home since yesterday. She's worried about them, and she has not been able to sleep. She reminds him that now that he's looked around, he should probably leave. Duan then apologizes for barging in like this and decides to head out. But just as he acts on that thought, the door to the bedroom starts knocking. He is shocked to hear this sudden commotion and quickly asks her if there's anyone else in the apartment. Of course, she tries to lie, saying that there's no one there. But Duan doesn't take her word for it and decides to check for himself. Duan finally opens the door, only to be shocked by what he sees inside. At that very moment, the woman lunges at him from behind, but he quickly ducks to avoid her attack. It turns out her son has already turned into a zombie and killed his father. The zombie kid quickly launches himself at Duan, but my guy safeguards himself with the dagger and kicks the brat away. That's when the mother steps in between them, pleading with Duan not to hurt her son. He tries to snap her back to reality, reminding her that her son is no longer human. He's already turned into a man-eating zombie. He warns her that if she keeps protecting him like this, they'll both be in serious danger. The doting mother cries, claiming that her son isn't really a zombie, he's just sick. She believes that they just have to wait until someone invents a cure, and then her son will be back to normal. But her hopeful yapping proves wrong when her own son drills a hole into her belly, causing her to drop down instantly. The zombified brat begins to feast on his father's flesh. As soon as Duan tries to lunge at the kid, the woman grabs his feet, begging him not to kill her son, insisting that he might turn back to normal one day. Despite her pleas, Duan ultimately ends up killing the brat, bringing a tragic end to this once happy family. After clearing the 11th floor, he places bells on the stairs before descending to the 10th floor. As he reaches the 10th floor, he encounters a jacked-up zombie that smells like trouble, and it looks like this zombie reached the 10th floor by following the scent of the blood. The jacked-up zombie gorilla roars at Duan and leaps from its spot, crashing down with a dumbbell in hand, aiming to crush him under its massive weight. But this stupid gorilla ends up destroying the wall instead, while Duan simply jumps away. The fact that this brainless zombie could demolish a wall shows that once someone turns into a zombie, their strength increases a lot. If they were already strong as a human, their zombified form becomes even harder to deal with. The beast throws its dumbbell at Duan, but he dodges again. Just as he's getting his bearings, another monster attacks him from behind. He manages to throw the second zombie away, but not without taking severe damage to his hand. Duan isn't just up against a powerful zombie anymore. Now he has to deal with a zombified animal as well. He's particularly afraid of this critter because not only does it have insane speed, but its sense of smell and hearing are off the charts. Both of them launch themselves at him. Duan manages to cut one monster's nails, but he still takes a lot of damage from the other monster. When his blood drips from the 10th floor down to the ground floor, all the zombies in the building catch the scent. Now they're all gunning for him. Duan thanks his lucky stars that he didn't fall, but he can feel the other zombies getting alerted to his presence. But right now, his main concern is figuring out how to deal with these two monsters in front of him. The jacked-up zombie swings its dumbbell at Duan again, but my guy ducks as usual, dodging just in time. He retaliates with a quick blow of his own. The gorilla zombie comes at him once more, and right then, the zombified dog tries to take a bite out of his candy butt. But Duan pulls off some sick backflips, dodging like a ninja on cocaine, putting some distance between them. Both monsters slowly advance on him. He is pretty sure that he can't defeat them yet, so he decides to at least lure them away from his sister, Xinyue. But his escape plan comes to a halt when he spots more zombies ascending the stairs right towards him. Now there are zombies in front of him, and the gorilla zombie behind, preparing to throw that massive dumbbell again. The dumbbell zombie charges forward and throws the weight so hard that it obliterates every zombie in its path. Heads are smashed, and blood splatters everywhere. It looks like this was part of our boy's plan, and he simply slips inside one of the apartment rooms right away. The room Duan entered looks like it belongs to a dedicated anime fan. There's a waifu pillow on the bed and posters of an anime girl plastered on the wall. Meanwhile, Duan can't shake off the nagging thought of why he hasn't received any points despite taking down so many zombies. He wonders if it's because he didn't land the finishing blow. What worries him the most is how quickly the zombies are evolving. Their strength is already almost past the first stage, and the rate of evolution seems different from last time. Just then, both monsters burst into the room, searching for him. The dumbbell gorilla spots him and swings its punch, drilling a hole right through the floor. Duan gets plopped down to the level below in a cloud of rubble. As he lies there, surrounded by debris, he contemplates whether this is how he's going to die. He feels like he's still trash, even after regressing. He thought he could make up for his past mistakes, but now it seems like someone like him will always remain trash. But Duan quickly snaps back to reality, because he has a family to protect. He stands up and quickly slices through the nearby zombies. After taking down 2 of them, he now has 5 evolution points. Without hesitation, he puts those points into his speed attribute. He leaves the room and finds a plethora of brainless zombies, and let's be real, they're nothing more than fodder for him. He dashes through them, slitting their throats as he goes. With his newly earned points, he adds 6 points into his strength. He is ascending as fast as he can, all to protect his sister. Meanwhile, at the apartment door, Xinyue hears knocking and wonders if it's her brother. She tries to call his brother, but when there's no response, she begins to worry, fearing that he might be in danger. So she musters up some courage and approaches the door, her hands trembling as she reaches the handle. Outside the apartment, two zombies lurk, waiting for Xinyue to open the door. As soon as she does, Duan rushes into the scene, not wasting a moment before slicing down both zombies with expert precision. Xinyue's eyes widen in fear as she realizes the danger and quickly slams the door shut. That is when her brother speaks up, assuring her that everything is fine. But just as he says this, the Dumble zombie finally ascends the 12th floor, and Duan knows that shit is about to get real, so he warns Xinyue to never open the door again. With his focus now on the new threat, Duan channels his godlike speed and strength, slicing through the oversized zombie's leg in one quick dash. Next, he turns his attention to the dog-like monster. In a stunning display of skill, he throws his dagger with godly speed and obliterates the creature with a single throw. He then performs a series of backflips, landing right on top of the hulking zombie. After thrusting the bastard's face into the ground, he jumps away and retrieves his dagger back. The zombie charges at him again, even after all that beating, but my guy isn't having it. He thrusts his dagger into the zombie's chest and moves it around so fast that he practically slices the thing into 1,000 pieces. The system window promptly pops up, showing that he's killed 6 first-stage zombies and earned 6 evolution points. After this little victory, he is now sure that he's not just some trash who runs away from danger anymore. Though he still has a long way to go, especially since there is not much time left until the zombies enter the Frenzy of Evolution stage, and at that time, zombies will rapidly evolve. With that, he heads down on the lower floors and starts clearing out the zombies to rack up a good chunk of points. After clearing the entire building, he finally walks out. When he notices the sun shining brightly, he realizes that it's already afternoon. He decides he should head back home if he doesn't want to upset his little sister, as he had promised to return by noon. Once he gets home, he takes a refreshing shower while opening his system window. He strategically tells the system to level up his speed and detection attributes. Now it's almost 9 p.m. and he walks over to his sister. She reveals that she just saw on the news that zombies are appearing everywhere in the world, and humanity is facing a crisis like never before. Even though they claim the spread is being controlled and that it will all be over soon, she can tell it's just political propaganda to calm everyone down. She's sure that after everything that's happened, there's no way it'll end so easily. His brother reassures her that they'll figure something out and once again gives her the same old spiel about how he's going to protect her no matter what. She then says she's worried she might drag him down, and sometimes she wishes she could walk again. He reassures her not to worry, promising that he'll earn the chance for her to stand again. But his sister reminds him that it's not possible, so he doesn't need to say this just to comfort her. In truth, he's speaking from experience, and he's definitely not just trying to comfort her. He thinks to himself that if she awakens powers, she can walk again. He then reveals to us that a meteor shower is about to happen, which will be a turning point for humanity. You see, in his past life, after the revelation happened, the zombies started to evolve. The reason for their evolution was this very meteor shower. They both look up at the sky, and he feels overwhelmed knowing that the thing that could change humanity's fate is finally here. These meteors radiate a special type of energy that spreads to the zombies, and once that energy accumulates in their bodies, they turn into genetic cores. Eating these genetic cores can force a normal human to awaken superpowers. His main plan is to gather a bunch of these cores and make a bunch of people eat them in order to save the humanity. These giant meteors begin to descend from the sky, and chaos erupts throughout the city. While the girl is absolutely blown away by the magnificent sight, my guy is busy calculating their landing positions. One of the meteors just landed not too far from where they are, only 16 kilometers away. He plans to head there tomorrow morning to grab a meteorite early on for Xinyue. Suddenly, he notices his cola beginning to freeze up, which might mean that Xinyue has already started absorbing the meteorite's energy. This brings a smile to his face, and he tells his sister that she might be able to stand up soon. The next day arrives, and the entire city is covered in smoke and rubble. Duan looks prepared to face whatever's out there, but his sister isn't so sure he should risk going out into the danger like this. He reminds her that this is incredibly important, not just for her, but for humanity. He has to do this, and he promises once again that she'll be able to stand soon. She still looks worried, so he tosses her a walkie-talkie he found in one of the apartments, and tells her they can communicate through it. With that, he takes the lift down to the ground floor. Just as he's descending, his sister calls out to him through the walkie-talkie, apologizing for not believing in him. She feels bad that he's always trying to protect her, yet she's always complaining. But he reassures her in return, telling her he understands her situation. Once he reaches the ground floor, he tells her he's about to head out, but she quickly tells him to check his pockets. Of course, it's her hairpin, a little reminder for him to come back home safely. Though, for some reason, it now looks like a cross. Once he steps out of the lift, he makes his way through the rubble in the city. That's when he spots a zombie trapped inside a car. Another zombie then bursts through the rubble, and he quickly leaps over the car and takes both zombies down with ease. Elsewhere in the city, we see some soldiers reporting to their senior officer that the zombies at the West Gate have already been dealt with by Team Sia. One of the soldiers points out that there seem to be fewer zombies since that mysterious meteor shower last night. We then see a woman surveying the area with binoculars, watching closely. That is when one of her juniors approaches her timidly and informs her that Soldier Lee reported the zombies at the west door have been eliminated, and they're awaiting further orders. The woman, who goes by the name Sia, instructs her junior to tell the soldiers to continue patrolling to make sure no zombies were missed. But then the girl delivers some troubling news, revealing that Mr. Huang wants to go back to his company. This guy seems genuinely upset. He says he doesn't want to be stuck here anymore and wants to head back to safety. That's when Jia grabs him by the collar and tells him to think about the situation before he speaks. She reminds him that she's not his personal bodyguard. She's a police officer, and going out right now would be suicidal. If he wants to live, he better wait. She asks him if he understood, but the guy doesn't respond right away, so she gives him a death glare to drive her point home. He starts to tremble in fear. The guy sitting next to Mr. Huang agrees that they'll follow her orders but begs her not to throw daggers with her sharp glares because she's really terrifying. She walks away, telling her junior to get in touch with Soldier Lee because she has something important to share with him. By the way, this lady is the captain of the armed police brigade. When the apocalypse happened, they were on a mission outside, so they are now trapped in the city. This junior goes by the name Xiaoling Ling. She's a university student who was doing holiday work far from home when the apocalypse hit, and she was rescued by Jia. Now she travels with them for the time being. Meanwhile, the guy who agreed to follow Officer Zia's orders twists his face into a sadistic grin and says he'll tame this fierce stray cat one day. By the way, let's give this purple head a name and call him Lizardface from now on. The scene then transitions outside, and it looks like we are nearing the spot where the giant meteor landed, and all the zombies are heading in that direction, which explains why the soldiers are seeing fewer monsters. Meanwhile, our guy, who's also heading toward the meteor crash site, is annoyed that as he gets closer, the number of zombies is increasing. But he doesn't complain too much because every kill earns him precious evolution points. Finally, the meteorite is right before his eyes and he can see the energy radiating from it. He could approach it right away, but he doesn't want to act rashly, especially since he doesn't know much about these meteors. He jumps onto the tallest building and looks through his scope, and spots a meteor shard inside the crash site, which is radiating this creepy energy. But he also notices a zombie standing right next to it. Strangely, the zombie seems completely uninterested in the shard. Duan finds it odd and wonders if this zombie is no ordinary one. Since he does not have much time for sightseeing, he plans to grab the shard and leave before the zombie absorbs it, especially with more zombies showing up. As he dashes down toward the shard, he passes by burned zombies that look like they were struck by the meteor shower. Once he approaches the pit, he tries to pierce that zombie inside the hole with his weapon. But the moment his dagger strikes, it shatters into pieces. Well, it looks like this zombie isn't an ordinary one after all. Suddenly, the zombie grows these weird ears, and patterns appear all over its body. This lady looks like she used to work at McDonald's, because she literally asks our guy if he wants takeout or if he'll be eating there. He notices her pitch-black eyes with golden pupils, and it doesn't take him long to realize that this is a primordial zombie. He gets absolutely shocked as the reality sinks in, because this type of zombie was the most feared in his previous life, and he has no idea why one would appear here. The lady quickly lunges at him, but he tries to stop her with the stick he's holding. She just grabs the stick and starts swinging him around in the air. At that moment, she throws some vines at him, but he quickly pulls out his dagger and slashes through them like it's no big deal. We learn that primordial zombies have unique attack abilities, and their speed and strength grow over time. It's like they were born for battle. He's not sure why such a strong zombie would appear so early. As she launches her vines again, he jumps from his spot and tries to grab the meteorite shard. But the vines start surrounding it, so he quickly cuts through them to make his way forward. He grits his teeth as he wonders if this stupid lady already knew what he was trying to do. He gets even more pissed when he notices her snickering with that disgusting grin on her face. She launches her vines at him once again, and this time he doesn't escape without taking some serious damage. He then thinks back to how he had to deal with that big zombie yesterday, and now this. None of this matches what he knew from his past life, which makes him wonder if history is changing. He notices some unusual blue energy connected to the primordial zombie, which makes him wonder if the zombie was created by the meteorite shard to act as a protector. The girl then throws her vines at him again, but he decides to retreat. Just as he jumps away, she unleashes her roots, and the string holding the hairpin breaks, causing it to fall while he keeps cutting through the branches. This attack takes a toll on him, and he coughs up a copious amount of blood, but he finally manages to escape that pit before getting completely screwed. She roars and unleashes a massive energy wave. Later, Duan takes shelter in a nearby broken home. It looks like he needs a seriously wicked plan to win against this primordial zombie, because that's the only way he'll retrieve the shard. He pulls out a bottle full of blood, which he reveals he collected from the dead bodies of other people, and he is planning to use it to lure the zombies. Later we see the primordial zombie again. She notices the commotion nearby, and it's our boy on the motorbike, with literally thousands of zombies chasing him. He keeps zooming down the road, and as he nears the pit, he pulls out the jar of blood and throws it toward the pit, shattering the bottle to ensure the blood scatters everywhere. The lady is now drenched in that blood, and all the zombies launch themselves at her. Before long, she's buried under a pile of zombies, but she unleashes her powers and pierces through every monster with her vines. Duan, on the other hand, watches the scene from afar, and it seems like his plan to defeat her using the zombies is not going well. She's literally ripping these zombies apart, and she isn't even sweating a little. He decides to get a little closer to look for more attack opportunities because these weak sauce zombies aren't cutting it. That's when a ferocious beast enters the scene, launching itself at the lady with a full-on growl and pins her down to the ground. Duan is both surprised and amazed, feeling a bit relieved that he might finally have a chance to defeat her. As he takes a closer look, he realizes that this monster is on the verge of evolving, and if it manages to swallow the meteorite shard, it'll evolve instantly. The lady flings the monster away with her vines and stands back up, though she looks utterly exhausted. The monster looks more furious than ever while the lady continues to attack it. That's when the monster finally takes a furious leap and begins feeding on her. Meanwhile, Duan looks for the opportunity to grab the crystal, because if this beast evolves, he'll be in a lot of trouble. It seems the lady is still alive, and she quickly pierces through the monster's throat with her vines and hoists it up, creating a ton of holes in the monster. The beast falls to the ground after being pierced, and the girl grins wildly at Duan, teasing him about how his little trap didn't work. But he throws a sassy jab right back at her because his trick isn't over yet. He tosses aside his tattered jacket and jumps back into the pit, letting her know that there's something he wants, so he has to come back to take it. As he engages in the fight with her, he notices that she has slowed down. She then sends a barrage of vines, but Duan uses his detection skill and godly speed to cut through all the vines like they're nothing. The girl launches herself at him again, but he manages to parry all of her attacks and even cuts off one of her arms in the process. Of course, this infuriates her to her absolute max. As her power begins to intensify, tentacles pop up from the ground, and she starts floating in the air. He wonders if she's been hiding her true powers all along, as she evolves into this new version of herself. She starts throwing her massive vines down at him, but he does his best to dodge everything. Deciding it's time to retreat, he jumps out of the pit. The lady becomes even more enraged, and her tentacles begin to follow him, but Duan starts slashing and dashing through those tentacles. It seems like he's getting too overwhelmed to even retreat. And just as he sees one vine heading straight toward him, it stops dead, just a centimeter away from his eye. The lady suddenly coughs up blood and slumps to the ground. Looks like she has pushed her body past its limits, so she is now unable to withstand the power of the shard. She still manages to attack, but Duan cuts through her vines, quickly making a beeline toward her and slices through her veiny legs. Even so, she keeps attacking, and he keeps cutting them down left and right. After a relentless back and forth, the girl is finally exhausted, and Duan delivers the finishing blow. The system promptly pops up, and to his surprise, he earns 100 evolution points for killing the primordial zombie. Finally, he retrieves the hairpin he lost and slips it back into his pocket. He then proceeds to take the stone after that life and death fight. As soon as he touches the shard, he feels connected to the shard for a moment, and his wounds heal instantly. This gives him even more confidence that he'll definitely be able to heal his sister's legs too. Suddenly, the dog monster starts reacting. Its belly swells up and then it eventually explodes, revealing a tiny, cute furball. Duan is absolutely baffled by this, because monsters don't usually have the ability to reproduce. He quickly deduces that before the mother died, the young one must have absorbed all her power and popped out. He picks up the little cub in his hand, and as he stares at it, he wonders if it's even possible to tame a newborn monster like this. He figures that if he's the first thing it sees after opening its eyes, it'll probably see him as family and be completely loyal. Sure enough, the furball looks at him, then promptly licks his face like it already considers him its parent. Later, he packs his bag, putting the furball and the shard inside, and decides to head back home because moving around at night would be too risky. It's 7 p.m., and as he makes his way through the city, the energy radiating from the shard spreads out, attracting every monster nearby. The sun has completely set, and the energy from the surrounding zombies is thickening. He knows it's only a matter of time before these zombies start evolving because of the shard's energy. Suddenly, the ground beneath his feet begins to crumble, forcing him to jump around to find his way. He grits his teeth, frustrated that he took a remote path but still got discovered by the monsters. Just then, a swarm of mutated rats pop into the scene, and he starts to lose it because these creatures are some of the hardest to deal with. They all start attacking him, clearly after the meteorite shard. He kicks one of the monsters away and leaps over a light pole, searching for a safe place to hide. The scene then transitions to somewhere in the city, where we see that same officer Zia K, and that uni student, and Zia Ling Ling. The student suggests the officer take a break, but the lady insists she's fine and tells Soldier Lee and the others to rest first. Suddenly, she spots a survivor running in their direction, and quickly instructs her junior to wake up Soldier Lee and his men to prepare to set off, as a survivor is nearby. Of course, it's our guy, dashing so fast it's hard to believe. The officer looking at him is amazed at how effortlessly he moves. Meanwhile, Duan plans to hide in the same factory where the officer and her crew are staying. He finally makes it through the factory gates, saving himself just in the nick of time. It's almost hilarious to see those same rats that broke through solid ground can't manage to climb or break through this rusty iron door. He steps into the parking lot and takes a moment to catch his breath. He knows that hiding there will be futile as long as he has the shard with him. The monsters will continue to chase him. He just needs to make it through the night and wait for the sun to rise. But when he opens his bag, he notices that the shard is gone, leaving him momentarily shocked. He wonders if he might have dropped it, but that's impossible, because the monsters wouldn't have been chasing him if he had lost the shard. The only explanation that comes to mind is that Goldie, his new pet, must have absorbed it. Right on cue, a system notification appears, stating that the decomposition of gene energy is complete and the absorption process will start in a moment. Before Duan can even figure out what in the hell is happening, an unbearable pain shoots through his body, as if it's being torn apart. He screams in pain, and then a burst of red energy explodes from his body. At that exact moment, the mutated rats smash through the wall and make their grand entrance into the parking lot. Duan glances at the rats with his exhausted body, barely able to move an inch. He knows he's in no condition to fight, but the rats are not waiting for him to recover, and charges at him right away. His vision blurs as his eyes begin to close, and his consciousness fades. But just before the rats can reach him, Goldie immediately steps forward and radiates a fiery energy in order to protect his master. The little furball launches itself at the rats, clearing them out of the place in no time. While Goldie is busy, one of the rats tries to sneak up on Duan, but that's when a bullet pierces right through the overgrown rat's mouth. And of course, the one who nailed that shot is none other than one of the soldiers standing nearby. One of the soldiers quickly hoists Duan over their shoulder while the other covers them, taking down more of the monsters. As they move, one soldier asks Officer Zia if bringing an outsider into the bunker so quickly is really a good idea, especially if there's a chance he could have been bitten by a zombie. The girl reminds him they can't just leave a survivor out there. They'll quarantine and observe him, just to be safe. Officer Zia then tells the soldier to return back, and he agrees without hesitation. Once they retreat with Duan, the shutter slams down, leaving these creepy suckers on the other side of the shutter. Meanwhile, our little furball is still out there, taking on those rats and zombies all by itself. The scene then transitions back to that creepy shrine, where creepy statues seem to be giving Duan some kind of power. A system window pops up, revealing that there's only 1 day left until the end of the revelation. Right at that moment, Duan starts coming back to his senses, though his head is still pounding. Meanwhile, outside the factory, it seems like Goldie has handled everything, and he seems to have grown a lot after fighting these monsters. Duan wakes up, groggy and disoriented, only to find a stunning woman pointing a gun straight at him. She tells him to calm down and move slowly as she's got some questions for him. First thing she wants to know is who he is and how he's able to fight zombies on equal footing. Duan just plays it cool and says he can't answer that, and in an instant, he's right behind her. He grabs her gun, points it back at her, asks if she really thinks she can stop him like this. That's when the other soldiers burst onto the scene, and they can't believe their eyes that a brat trying to take on a police officer. The mention of police perks our boy right up. The lady then remembers she forgot to introduce herself and says she's Jacques, the team leader of the Martial Police, and her crew is part of the main squad. She's the one who saved him from those pesky rats. Then this lizard face starts yapping about how they shouldn't have saved this ungrateful brat. He's annoyed because they took care of him for 4 days, and now that he's awake, he's giving them shit. Of course, the mention of 4 days hits Duan hard. Without wasting a second, he bolts to get out because his sister might be in danger. But the soldiers quickly aim their guns at him, and Officer Jia calls out for him to stop. She reminds him that the city is crawling with zombies outside, so it's too dangerous. She mentions she's seen him fight and believes his skills could be really helpful, and they want as many fighters they can gather. Of course, he flatly refuses. But just then, a monster crashes through the windows, swinging its giant palm inside the building to grab anyone it can. The student girl is the first target, but he leaps in front of her, stopping that giant hand right in its tracks. He's totally baffled by how quickly he reacted to save her, especially since he thought he wouldn't be able to do something like that with his level 3 agility. Then he notices his entire body is bursting with energy. With a determined push, he throws the monster away, jumps through the building, and balls up his fist to deliver a solid punch. But we all know by now that this beast is none other than Goldie. Once Duan realizes this, he stops dead in his tracks and lands right on top of his friend. His furry friend licks him happily, and Duan apologizes for not recognizing him earlier. Then he pops open his attribute window and is once again boggled to find that there are no changes to his attribute levels. The points he earned from taking down the meteorite are gone too. He notices a new attribute known as Perfect Gene Engineering, which requires a whopping 10,000 evolution points to level up. To seek further clarification, he dives into the evolution tree system and realizes it looks different from the last time he saw it. He asks the evolution tree if the meteorite and his evolution points disappeared because of the tree itself. The evolution tree confirms this, saying they've been consumed as resources to activate perfect gene engineering. Now his genes have broken through their original value limits. Since he's broken through the original limits of his attribute values, it's no wonder his strength and agility have improved, even if they still stand at level 3. You see, the limits of all human genes are fixed, so no matter how much you train, you can't break through your body's limits. He personally witnessed this issue in his previous life. To break through his own limits, an A-class warrior willingly took on great risks, and in the end, that warrior lost his life because of it. The barrier that hinders human evolution is called genetic shackles. Now that he can break through these shackles, it means he can improve infinitely. Of course, it'll still require a lot of points, but he's confident he can manage that. Later, when he returns to the others at the factory, they're bewildered to see him casually sitting on top of the monster. He jumps down and reassures them that it's just his pet. He explains that it used to be small and cute, but it's grown enormous from eating too many zombies lately, and it only attacked them because it thought they were trying to harm its master. Of course, Officer Zia finds it ridiculous that he's keeping a monster as a pet. My guy just laughs it off, saying, "It's a long story, but I'll explain everything when the time's right." Right now, though, he points out they have more urgent issues to deal with, such as this large number of zombies who are marching toward the factory after hearing the commotion. The soldiers panic, asking what they should do. With their current firepower, they can't possibly handle that many zombies. Duan tells them they can't stay here any longer. They need to move. But Officer Zia reminds him that there's nowhere else to go, as this factory was the only safe place they found after scouting the area. He then assures them that there's a military bunker about 40 kilometers away, and they can make it there. But Officer Sia reminds him that there are so many zombies outside. They're basically stuck here. Duan tells her not to worry because, since this mess started because of him, he'll distract the zombies and buy them some time to escape to the warehouse outside. He'll meet up with them there. She asks if he's really going alone, reminding him that it's too dangerous and insists on going with him. But he tells her that she will only hold him back, and besides, these people need her leadership. With that, he storms out of the factory with his furry buddy. The others worry about him, concerned he might get in serious trouble. But the officer shows confidence, saying this guy isn't messing around. He actually has some seriously good skills. As Duan gets closer to the zombie horde, he grabs a nearby stop sign to use as a weapon. Even though he's gotten a lot stronger, fighting that many zombies barehanded would still be risky. Once armed, he swings the stop sign and smashes it against the rails to attract the zombies. Sure enough, the brainless monsters fall right into his trap. Sha, watching from the factory, calls him crazy for drawing the zombies toward him. She quickly orders everyone to grab their belongings because they're setting off immediately as they gotta stick to their original plan. Duan smiles as he turns to his furry buddy and tells him to hang back. He wants to test his abilities and farm as many sweet evolution points as he can. The poor beast just whimpers, disappointed that it won't get to join the action. As the zombies shuffle toward him, he reflects on how his past self would have never stood a chance against so many of them. But now he feels like he's been reborn after unlocking his perfect gene engineering attribute. He launches himself at the horde, eager to grab those sweet evolution points all for himself. He swings the stop sign, and just as expected, all the zombies in his range lose their heads in an instant. He can feel a noticeable increase in his strength, so he keeps obliterating zombies left and right. But then a mini-boss from this wave appears, an F-class, first-stage monster. As the name suggests, it's the lowest awakened level monster, but there's still a world of difference compared to the beginner-level zombies. The monster takes a swing at him, but he jumps away and counters with an attack of his own. To his surprise, he finds his stop sign bending upon impact. This reveals that the monster actually has an awakened ability that toughens its skin. Well, he's not complaining, because this monster is just a perfect sandbag to test the extent of his new strength. As dusk begins to approach, Officer Zia is with her crew, talking to herself about how it's been a while since he left and wondering if he's doing all right. She's confident he'll come back to regroup, but Lizardface pipes up, asking why they should wait for a brat like him. Sia responds firmly that she made a promise, so she's going to keep it. Not surprisingly, Lizardface shouts, complaining that they all saw dozens of zombies rush at him. How could he still be alive? If they stick around, they're just going to end up as zombie chow. One of the soldiers tells him to keep his voice down, but he keeps yapping. Finally, Officer Zia snaps at him, telling him to shut the hell up. She commands Soldier Lee to shut this guy's trap because if he attracts zombies here, they're definitely going to get screwed. But not surprisingly, old Soldier Lie kinda agrees with Lizardface. He says they should leave as soon as possible before they end up as zombie dinner. He raises a valid point that they have no way to confirm if Duan is still alive or if he's already run off. Besides, if he does make it and doesn't see them here, he'll head to the bunker on his own. He's more than capable of handling himself. A heavy silence falls over the room because, despite his age, the old man's words hit hard. Officer Zia finally gives in, saying she'll go out to confirm whether Duan is alive. If he doesn't return within 30 minutes, she instructs old Lee to lead everyone to the bunker. The soldier is bewildered to hear this, and reminds her that it's way too dangerous for her to go alone. Just as they're hashing things out, a zombie decides to crash their heated argument. But before it can do anything, Duan nails it with a punch, sending the zombie flying. Both ladies smile, happy to see him back. Duan apologizes for being late, explaining that something came up on the way, which delayed him. The woman quickly tells him she's the one who should apologize. As a police officer, she shouldn't have put him in danger. Duan brushes it off, saying that she saved him before, and if it weren't for her, he'd be pushing daisies by now. He then gives them the good news that he's cleared most of the zombies, and Goldie will make sure to escort them safely to the bunkers. Of course, Officer Zia is shocked and asks if he's not coming with them. Duan replies that he has to find his sister. Later, everyone hops on Goldie's back, heading for the bunkers. As they leave, Duan reflects that by midnight, the revelation will end, and many awakened zombies will appear. Although Goldie should reach F-Class soon, it hasn't awakened its abilities yet, and still struggles against zombies with powers. Duan dashes through the city at godlike speed, desperate to find his sister. When he finally reaches their building, it's in shambles, completely wrecked. He wonders if the military had come through here. Frantically, he pulls out his walkie-talkie, screaming into it, calling for Xinyue, but there's no response. His heart races and panic grips him even tighter. As he charges deeper into the building, he realizes that the military is probably too busy constructing shelters right now to deal with zombies. That means the chaos must be caused by criminals taking advantage of the confusion to commit their crimes. When he finally arrives at their apartment, all that's left is ruins. Inside her room, he sees her wheelchair lying on the floor, along with a photo of the two of them together. Seeing that, something snaps inside Duan. He goes full-on God mode, ready to tear apart anyone who dared mess with his sister. The scene shifts to a grim location where zombies are getting drilled in the head by a group of mercenaries. Despite their best efforts, the monsters just won't stay down, putting up a relentless fight. While two of the goons are busy dealing with the undead, the camera pans to their scumbag leader, who's toying with Duan's sister. He grabs her chin with a smug grin, telling her not to worry because people will come to rescue them soon. Of course, Xinyue yaps some obvious truth, asking the thug why he's doing all of this when they should be cooperating to defeat the zombies together. The guy just laughs, a broad grin spreading across his face. He says he doesn't have the spirit to sacrifice himself, and that now is the time to be more selfish. At that moment, we see Duan in the sky, and he comes crashing down from the sky like a goddamn meteor. As soon as he sees his sister inside, he wastes no time. He grabs one of the thugs and flings him out of the vehicle with ease. The other thug aims his gun at Duan, but he faces the same fate as his partner, getting tossed aside like yesterday's trash. Xinyu is left breathless at the sight of her badass brother. Meanwhile, the leader of the goons starts yelling, threatening Duan that if he comes any closer, he'll cut her throat with the dagger in his hand. But of course, Duan isn't here to take any crap. He just kicks the bastard's hand, causing him to groan in pain. Then, hoisting the thug into the air, Duan gives him a deadly glare while the thug tries to boast about his family's military connections. Surprisingly, our boy knows that this thug's uncle, Guang Zhonghua, is in the military. Even more surprising, he knows that this thug's name is Guan Jialong. Jialong is baffled and asks how Duan knows so much, but our boy doesn't respond. Instead, he holds Jialong right above the hungry zombies below, who are eagerly waiting for him to drop the thug to the ground. Finally, the thug starts to apologize, saying he's sorry, but Duan isn't interested in that. Just then, helicopters arrive on the scene, and the thug's face lights up at the sight of his backup. However, his happiness fades when Duan just throws him down for the zombies to eat him. When the soldiers in the helicopters see that the guy they came to rescue is dead, they decide to contact their commander, who goes by the name Guan. They report to him that Jialong died before they could arrive. One soldier adds that the real killer is a young man standing right there, and he asks for orders about what they should do next. Not surprisingly, the commander tells them to just kill them all. The buff soldier quickly informs his friend that their target is right in front of them, and the helicopter quickly closes the distance. Soldiers begin shooting at Duan, and he tries his best to run for his life. The soldiers even fire a bazooka at him, but Duan manages to dash inside the building, quickly making his way into one of the rooms. He tells his sister to wait there, promising that he'll take care of the soldiers and wipe them out for good. Xinyu pleads with him, telling him to come back safely. Duan reassures her, saying this time he'll be back as fast as possible. With that, he rushes back outside, dodging bullets as the helicopters rain fire down on him. There are only 30 minutes left before the next wave of zombies hits. As the gunfire continues, the commotion has attracted more zombies, who begin to gather around. But Duan, with godly strength, grabs a wardrobe he was hiding behind and throws it so hard that it obliterates all the zombies in its path, leaving no one standing. The soldier inside the helicopter stares in disbelief, his eyes wide open, wondering if Duan is even human. The guy sitting in the back of the helicopter tells the pilot to find a tall building and descend so he can head out, while also ordering them to keep firing. Meanwhile, a zombie sneaks up behind Duan, but the poor creature is obliterated by the barrage of bullets before it even gets a chance to attack. It's almost comical how the bullets can't touch Duan, yet those same rounds are turning the zombies into minced meat, leaving nothing but blood and pieces behind. Even the soldiers in the helicopter are panicking, confused as to how it's even possible to dodge bullets from a Gatling gun. The jacked-up gorilla of a soldier, after landing on the tallest rooftop, finally takes aim at Duan. He shoots a bullet, and it goes straight through Duan's shoulder. Despite the hit, Duan manages to find his way into another building room. The gorilla soldier reports to his team that Duan is wounded, and that the scent of his blood will attract zombies. They'll be able to track him by watching where the zombies gather. Meanwhile, the gorilla is shocked. He's never missed a shot in his life, but this time he barely grazed his target. It makes him wonder how could Duan be reacting fast enough to dodge even his most precise shots. Meanwhile, Duan is continuously bleeding, and the more he stays in one spot, the more zombies gather around him. Suddenly, someone fires another bazooka shot, blowing apart the building Duan was hiding in. But just in time, Goldie comes in to save the day, saving Duan from the impact. The gorilla soldier, on the other hand, is losing his mind at the sight of such a massive beast. Duan thanks his friend, saying he arrived just in time. Now he wonders what they should do since he has no way to reach the helicopter. But his worries seem unwarranted because right at that moment, Goldie sprouts a pair of wings from its back. Duan hops onto Goldie's back, and they crash directly into one of the helicopters, taking it out of the fight. The pilot of the second helicopter is sweating his balls as he finds it hard to believe that this monster can withstand the Gatling gun's firepower. Suddenly, Goldie vanishes, leaving the pilot bewildered, wondering where it went. That's when they notice Duan inside the very helicopter they're riding in. Meanwhile, the gorilla soldier receives a message from the surface team that they've found a survivor. Of course, that survivor is Jinyue, Duan's sister, and by the look of this creepy bastard's face, we all know what he is thinking about. Meanwhile, Duan is thinking about introducing his sister to Goldie, but his face falls off when he sees the gorilla pinning Jinyue to the ground, a massive sniper rifle locked over her head. Dun shouts at the bastard, while this creepy sucker grins with an evil smile as he inches the barrel of his sniper rifle closer to her head. Duan begs him to stop, insisting that he's the one they're after, not her, and he's ready to surrender right there. He then tells Goldie to take his sister somewhere safe while he walks toward the gorilla soldier, hands raised high. His sister pleads with him not to risk his life, but Duan keeps moving forward. His selfless bravery prompts the gorilla to smirk. Once poor Duan is out in the open, the other soldiers aim their bazookas at him and prepare to fire, and as those missiles drop right over our boy, this bastard just snickers to see our boy getting doomed. But as the dust settled, we noticed that it was the Goldie who took all of the brunt in order to save his master. Once the gorilla sees this, he barks orders to his soldiers to remain vigilant since that brat is still alive. That's when Duan pops up right behind this bastard with the agility of a cheetah and slaps him so hard that he goes flying away, while his sister is also flung in the process. It only took a single slap, and the gorilla is literally covered in blood. In a faint voice, he tells his soldiers to focus their fire on that girl, and they promptly aim their bazookas at her. Meanwhile, Duan is trying to outrun those missiles to grab his sister, and he manages to catch her just in the nick of time, and all of the missiles hit him square in the back. They both roll over on the ground, and once they stop, Duan is on top of his sister. She looks at her hands, realizing they're smeared with his blood, and sees that he's finally gone out cold. Tears well up in her eyes as she calls for him, but he doesn't respond back. Meanwhile, the bastard grits his teeth, angry that he almost died from the impact. He glances back at his broken gun and reflects that if he hadn't blocked that hit in time, he would have been a goner. Meanwhile, Shinyue cries, but she eventually stops sobbing when her brother tells her not to cry, apologizing for not protecting her right away. She reassures him that he doesn't have to apologize. She feels like she's just been a burden to him. He tells her he's so happy to see her again and spills out some of that motivational stuff we've heard from him so many times before, lingers inside him. With those final words, he goes unconscious, and Shinyue finally breaks down. Just as the clock strikes midnight, we see her start to shimmer with energy, as if she has awakened some powers of her own. The gorilla soldier reflects on how this brat is still breathing even after being hit by so many missiles. Then he notices the glowing snow and wonders why the hell it's snowing. Well, it seems to be because Shinyue has awakened her powers. She stands up right away, promising to protect her brother this time, since he's always been the one to protect her. The gorilla is blown away to see this seemingly crippled girl suddenly standing on her feet out of the blue. The girl begins to form icy crystals with her new powers, and she starts freezing the soldier right away. The scene then transitions to a facility where a few people are monitoring the entire city through radar. They explain that the meteorite shards showed a reaction nearby to their location. A very strong burst of energy was released, confirming that this is the S-class evolution known as Absolute Zero. A slim and beautiful lady finds this news amazing, because this release of energy means that they finally have an S-class awakener joining their ranks. We also see a little girl with a carrot, saying she doesn't know why the meteorite shards stopped reacting. The big one replies that they'll find out soon enough once they arrive there. It looks like these ladies are riding in a blimp balloon, and once they finally reach the top, they are blown away to see how the entire area has been frozen by a single S-class warrior. The next scene shows Commander Guan playing a board game with an older man named Liu Yang. Both are military officers, and just as their conversation heats up, Guan gets a phone call, and the caller informs him that his soldiers failed to take down our boy and his sister. Of course, this annoys the Commander Guan, because how could those grown as soldiers can't even take care of two kids? He quickly stands up, telling his friend Luo that something has come up, and he'll be leaving first. But before he heads out, he advises Luo not to waste resources constructing shelters. Instead, he should give him the authority to fight the zombies with their military power. It's their only option. The old man reminds his friend that their duty is to protect civilians, and if they forsake the civilians, then what's the point? We also see a guy named Little Cow, and the old man asks if he looks old. Chow quickly responds to his senior, saying he looks as fresh as a freshly picked cucumber. The old man tells Little Cow to stop flattering him and instructs him to go investigate what Commander Guan was talking about during the phone call. The soldier salutes in acknowledgement. The next scene shows the same little girl again, telling the other lady named Yun that they are about to land, but Yun tells her to bring them down to a suitable height instead. Once the blimp descends significantly, Yun informs the little girl rabbit that this height is perfect. With that, Yun jumps out of the blimp and slides over the ice to make her way down, eventually landing on solid ground. She looks over and notices that the girl has collapsed from overexerting herself, which isn't surprising given how much power she has used, so much that the entire area has been frozen solid. Lady Rabbit's drone appears, and we learn that Xinyue is actually the 4th S-Class Awakener out of 12 S-Class warriors. Rabbit then states that she just checked and doesn't think this girl possesses Absolute Zero, since Absolute Zero was detected at different locations. Yun explains that since this girl is an S-Class, she is also linked to the meteorite, so this is probably the reason that they spotted this energy turbulence at 2 places. With that, the ladies proceed to walk away with Xinyue, leaving her brother behind. Meanwhile, we see that Duan has begun to shimmer, and a tree of evolution sprouts right into his chest. The vines begin to spread throughout the area, and a system notification reveals that Level 1 authority has been activated. The mission God Construction has started, and evolution will now begin. I have no clue what that even means, but let's see what happens next. These vines snake through the surroundings, and once they find the zombies, they latch onto them, squeezing a red substance from their bodies. All that red liquid flows back toward Duan, and the energy begins to gather into his heart, which starts to beat faster than ever. Before we can figure out what's going on, the scene transitions to the office of the same commander, the old man Liu Yang. Chow promptly enters after his investigation and shows the old man footage of Duan. Chow reveals that Commander Guan had sent his troops to kill the young man in the video, but this young gun managed to decimate the commander's underlings using his own powers. However, despite his strength, the guy still lost. The entire area was covered in ice for an unknown reason, and that's when the last part of the video shows countless roots rapidly spreading out before it abruptly ends. The old man also notices the woman who took Xinyue, but her face is blurry and unrecognizable in the footage. He then quickly orders Cao to go to the scene and investigate, especially to find out more about the young man who spread those strange roots. Chow salutes and pledges to carry out the command. The scene transitions back to Duan, and after the vines finish draining all the energy from the zombies, the roots retract. The system promptly reveals that he's killed a bunch of zombies and earned 999 evolution points, which have been automatically distributed. The mission God Construction is now complete. Duan slowly opens his eyes, confused about how he's still alive. He clearly remembers being hit by guided missiles while trying to protect his sister. Speaking of Jinyue, he's bewildered to see that she's missing again. Even more confusing is that the entire area is covered in ice. He quickly leaps around, searching for any sign of her, but there's no trace of life. No zombies. No nothing. The place is dead silent. Duan quickly returns to the evolution tree to seek some answers. He asks the tree what's going on, and wonders why he isn't dead, and how he's completely unscathed. That's when a deity sends him a message, explaining that he's used his one and only chance to undergo the God Construction mission. As a result, he's been revived and has awakened his abilities in the process. A system notification promptly pops up, showing that all of his attribute levels have risen by 1 point. The system further informs him that he has now awakened supernatural abilities, officially becoming an E-class warrior. It also reveals that he has awakened a rare ability called Devouring Strength, which is an S-class ability. Confused, Duan says he's never heard of this ability, not even in his previous life, and there isn't even a skill description provided. The system explains that while his personal class can be raised, the class of his ability is fixed. The class of his ability will determine the limit of his growth. Seeing his new powers, Duan feels confident that he's become one of the first batch of awakeners who got S-class ability. That's when he remembers the time when Jinyue froze that cola can, which is a clear sign that she had some sort of ice-related abilities. After exiting the evolution tree, Duan picks up his sister's hairpin, and he is feeling quite certain that the military has something to do with Jinyue's disappearance. Fueled by anger, he approaches one of the frozen soldiers and punches the ice so hard that it shatters into pieces. In his rage, he vows to eradicate Commander Guan for messing with his sister. The scene then transitions to a lazy soldier yawning in the middle of his shift. He snaps back to attention when a VIP car rolls up to the post. The man inside is Cao, who tells the soldier to stop yawning and keep his eyes peeled for zombies because this is a critical time for the shelter's establishment. We then see Commander Guan, visibly annoyed as his lackey informs him that the man who just pulled up in the car is Chao Shilong, the one investigating everything in the area. Commander Guan gets annoyed to hear this, and expresses his belief that the Commander Luo won't hand over command of the military to him peacefully. He orders his lackey to dispose of Chao, intending to eliminate any obstacles in his path. The scene then transitions to an abandoned building, where Duan is taking a refreshing shower. After turning off the tap, he begins contemplating his next move. He realizes that the best way to infiltrate the military is by entering the shelter, where Jiake's people are stationed. Conveniently, this would also allow him to search for Jinyue and uncover Commander Guan Zhonghua's whereabouts. With this plan in mind, he decides to head to the shelter first. He knows that if his goal is to infiltrate the military, brute force isn't an option. He can't risk his life again, especially since he's already used up his one chance at being revived. At 6 a.m., with the sun just beginning to rise, and our boy is ready to set out on his adventure to find his sister. Later, he's seen sprinting down the streets, trying to use his Devour ability. But much to his frustration, the system informs him that the action has failed. He stops for a moment, reflecting on what he might be doing wrong. That's when he notices a giant monster charging straight at him. The beast lunges at him, slamming its massive hands into the ground with such force that the earth shatters upon impact. Judging by its strength and the color of the monster's skin, he realizes that this monster likely possesses a common supernatural ability known as violence. The monster charges at him again, and they lock into a fierce exchange of punches. But my guy grabs the beast's hand and executes a sick move, showing off agility like the second coming of a ninja. He lands a powerful kick to the monster's face, and after delivering a crushing knee strike, the beast crumples to the ground, clearly down for the count. Without wasting a moment, he extends his hand and activates his Devour ability right away. This time it works, which means that his ability only activates on zombies that have awakened some sort of power. Suddenly, a multicolored energy bursts from the monster, swirling in the air. In that instant, it zaps into Duan, and as he absorbs the energy, the system reveals that his Devour ability has finally been completed. The system then flashes 3 notifications regarding the different colors of energy he just absorbed. The green energy helps heal him as he devours the life force of the target, while the golden energy devours the genetic core of the target. Since the monster had awakened a genetic core, it is broken down and absorbed by the evolution tree. The system explains that the red energy represents a 1% fragment of the time-based ability, Violence. While Duan easily grasps the purpose of the green and gold energies, he does not understand the purpose of the red energy. Curious, he decides to investigate it further. That's when he realizes that to fully unlock the violence ability, he'll need to devour 99 more similar abilities to reach 100%. Doon is taken aback by the possibility of unlocking extra abilities. In his past life, only a select few could activate more than one supernatural ability, and no one had more than two. But now, if he can gather more pieces to unlock abilities, he could potentially possess multiple powers. With the gene shackles amplifying his growth potential, the sky's the limit for him. Suddenly, a commotion nearby pulls him from his thoughts, and a giant monster bursts onto the scene. Doon instinctively slides back, and that is when he senses overwhelming energy approaching him, but he can't pinpoint its source. Just then, a flash of light descends from the sky, and it's Goldie crashing the party. Seeing his friend makes Doon crack a smile. Goldie, on the other hand, stands tall in front of the giant beast, ready to take it down. Doon is momentarily surprised to see Goldie alive, but he quickly snaps back to the task at hand, realizing now isn't the time to reminisce about the past. He tells Goldie to make way so he can take care of the monster himself. However, Goldie pulls him back, determined to take on the giant creature one-on-one. Doon hesitates, reminding his furry fella that the monster is much bigger and more dangerous. But before they can debate further, the monster's patience finally wears thin, and it roars and charges towards them. Seeing no other option, Doon finally gives Goldie permission to fight. Goldie lets out a powerful roar of its own, meeting the monster head-on as the battle between the two giant mutated beasts begins. Our furry fella tries to sink its teeth into the monster, but the attack seems ineffective. With brute force, the massive creature flings Goldie into the air like a trash bag. Goldie quickly sprouts its majestic wings and charges at the giant monster with renewed ferocity. The creature swings its long, sharp tail in an attempt to strike Goldie, but our furry companion evades the attack, sinking its teeth into the monster's tail and ripping it apart with ease. The monster roars in agony, but Goldie quickly silences it by placing a powerful foot on its head, asserting dominance over the beast. Gathering fire in its mouth, Goldie unleashes a colossal roar, sending a torrent of flames over the creature. Doon watches in awe as Goldie displays such overwhelming power. It does not take him long to realize that Goldie has undergone double evolution, transforming into a formidable force. As the flames begin to simmer down, the scene reveals Goldie standing triumphantly over this weird lizard, who has been cooked alive. Doon is still in disbelief, realizing that he never anticipated Goldie to have transformation as well as flame ability. Goldie sinks his mouth into the monster's chest and retrieves its genetic core, devouring it right away. Doon watches with admiration and gives Goldie props for his impressive double evolution. However, he quickly reminds him to revert to his original size so they can move without attracting unwanted attention. In an instant, the fearsome furry monster transforms back into a small, adorable furball. Doon further instructs him to retract his wings and just be a regular dog. Goldie whimpers but eventually complies with his master's command, shrinking down to a more inconspicuous size. Before they move on, Doon activates his detection abilities, but to his surprise, he finds no traces of life forms nearby. He also notices that his detection range has increased since his detection level has risen to level 5. As they cautiously survey their surroundings, Doon spots a group of survivors in the distance. These few survivors seem to be surrounded by a horde of zombies, and Doon's protective instincts kick in. He quickly starts running forward to save the survivors, and the scene then shifts to the rabbit girl again. She tells Sister Yoon that she has contacted headquarters. Once the call connects, the person from the headquarters asks about the progress of their mission. Yoon promptly explains that the mission is going smoothly. She further elaborates to her senior that they followed the meteorite reaction, but when they arrived, the reaction had disappeared. Instead, they unexpectedly found an S-class warrior whose ability is absolute 0, but she's still on the list. The senior finds it intriguing that they've encountered an S-class that wasn't on their target list. She instructs her juniors to bring this S-class awaken to headquarters at once. With that, both the rabbit girl and Yoon decide to change their paths. We finally reach the scene where these poor soldiers are surrounded by zombies, doing their best to defend against the horde. We also spot Chao Shilong, and his white-haired companion asks him why he's even here, considering he should have been at headquarters protecting Commander Luo. The officer explains that he's here to carry out a mission, but he got messed up by Commander Guan. Apparently, Commander Guan messed up with Chao's car, so he ended up stuck here, and that's when he found everyone. Chao then turns to the white-haired guy and asks why he's here. The white-haired guy shrugs and says he doesn't really know either. He was escorting the scientists back to the shelter when a thunderbolt destroyed his car, so they had to leave it behind and flee for their lives. The white-haired guy then says that these scientists are crucial since they hold the future of humanity in their hands, so they've got to protect them at all costs. He tells Chao to get the scientists out before their bullets run dry. But Chow decides against it, and the white-haired guy reminds him that there's no time for sentimentality. Right at that moment, a massive zombie barges in, and the white-haired guy quickly tells everyone to regroup and protect the scientists while he takes care of this monster alone. Meanwhile, the monster pops up right behind Cow and the scientists. But before it can do anything serious, our guy shows up and drills a hole in the monster and sucks up its awakened abilities right away, adding another piece of ability violence. Chow doesn't take long to realize that this is the same young boy Commander Guan wanted dead. When he asks if he's Duan Fei, my guy quickly fires back, asking how Chow knows his name. The officer asks further questions, but my guy cuts him off, insisting he answer his previous question first. He asks Chow if he's under the command of Guan Zhonghua. The officer quickly replies that he's actually under Commander Luo. He officially introduces himself as Chow Shilong, mentioning that his commander is Luo Yang. He knows that Commander Guan is behind everything our guy has been through, and he's aware of why Duan is here too. Duan then reflects on his past life during the apocalypse, when humanity fell into chaos. Despite the odds, the elderly commander never gave up on saving humanity. From the tiny shelter at the beginning to the federal base at the end, he poured everything into securing the last bit of clean land. His actions kept a flicker of hope alive for humanity's survival. Chow then reveals that the commander has wanted to meet Duan ever since he heard about him, so he's hoping Duan will come back with him to the shelter. Right at that moment, chaos erupts, and through the settling haze, we see these jacked-up zombies with awakened powers. The wall erupts, scattering debris and filling the area with thick smoke. In the passageway stands an awakened zombie looking directly at them. Duan doesn't move and just stares into the zombie's eyes. He tells Chow to go inside, saying he'll handle the situation himself. The captain warns that it's too dangerous, but he reassures him. He says that they need to focus on helping the injured. Chow has no other choice, so he agrees. He then instructs Goldie to go with him but only transform if absolutely necessary. The zombie sends its army towards the MC. He wonders if the awakened zombie is actually controlling them. As he destroys the zombies, lightning shoots toward him, but he dodges just in time. Seeing that the zombie was using other targets as bait, our boy realizes that it has already gained intelligence. If this continues, there could soon be Lord and King-ranked zombies. While the group treats the commander's wounds, he reveals that the zombie is the one responsible for firing lightning at their car. He slowly moves his head up and asks them why Duan is the only one fighting. They tell him they won't be much help even if they try to assist him. He is the hero Luo wants to recruit. Meanwhile, the zombie prepares another attack, creating a lightning ball and blowing up the roof. Debris flies toward the group, however Goldie sees the danger and rushes to save them. The team looks at Goldie in shock and wonders if he was the one who protected them. Nervous about being exposed, Goldie starts rolling and barking to avoid suspicion. The MC smiles as he looks back at him, trying not to reveal himself. The zombie screams, summoning another giant zombie into the building. The MC pauses, shocked by the zombie's ability to control other awakened creatures. The giant monster hurls a massive boulder at the group, but the MC reacts quickly. He jumps onto the boulder and strikes the zombie with his dagger. He puts all of his power behind the attacks, since he knows that the zombies are also evolving quickly. He delivers the final blow, absorbing the zombie's energy. After killing the zombie, he obtains a 1% piece of its violence ability. He then turns to the awakened zombie, declaring it's his turn. The zombie attacks with lightning, but he dodges it effortlessly and moves closer. He activates his absorption skill again and grabs the zombie by its head. The zombie screams in pain as he absorbs its skill. The MC receives a system notification that he has unlocked the lightning skill. After clearing through the zombies, Goldie excitedly runs to him. All the survivors also shout in amazement at their victory. Suddenly, one of the students tells the scientist to look at something. He holds the green crystal in his hand and shows it to the scientists since they have seen this crystal before. The scientist looks at the crystal and tells him that it supports his research since strange crystals like these have been appearing in zombies. Duan looks at the scientists in confusion. Despite their near-death experience, they have immediately gone back to researching. Just as he is thinking, the scientist walks towards him and introduces himself as Jiang Tianxin. He thanks him for saving his life. The MC is in disbelief since this man was the greatest scientist in the world during his previous life. He had never met someone so important in person before. Tianxin is a bit confused as he sees the MC not saying a single word. Meanwhile, Duan is still lost in thought, remembering how Tianxin and his team found a way to extract energy from monster cores. Thanks to him, genetic medicines were created, allowing ordinary people to awaken and defend themselves in the darkest of times. Standing in front of him now is the man who gave humanity the power to fight monsters for peace. The scientist asks him if he wants to shake his hand or not. The MC immediately snaps out of his thoughts and shakes Tianxin's hand. He apologizes and tells him that he got too excited upon meeting him. Tianxin is a bit surprised that the MC knows about him. He hears a student calling him and tells him they'll have a proper chat later. He watches as the scientist rushes to his students who are examining the awakened zombie. At the same time, the commander approaches Duan and thanks him for saving everyone. The MC says he's always happy to help and suggests they get the commander out of there as soon as possible since he needs proper medical treatment. The commander assures him that someone is already looking for a vehicle. Suddenly, they hear Tianxin shout. He can't believe that there's no crystal in the zombie they're examining. According to his research, all the zombies should have a crystal inside. A student examines the fat zombie and confirms there's nothing in the other body either. This makes the scientist frustrated as he realizes that something's missing in his research. The MC thinks to himself that he needs to help the professor in his research without revealing his regression since he is the one who absorbed the genetic cores inside the zombies. He walks over to the professor and asks what's going on. Tianxin shows him a crystal and explains that he needs to understand where it comes from and how it works. He looks at the crystal and calls it a genetic core. When asked why he called it that, Duan nervously explains that he's seen them before and eating them makes him stronger. The professor almost loses his mind hearing this and asks him why he ate it since it was infested with microbes from the zombies. The MC explains that after eating the first core, he underwent a powerful evolution. The professor is amazed as he realizes that something is suppressing the viruses in Duan, preventing him from turning into a zombie. If they can remove or control the virus, these cores could become safer to use. The MC is impressed to see the professor deducing this much from his information. He tells him that the reason they didn't find the cores within those zombies was because he accidentally destroyed them. This meant that the scientist's research wasn't wrong. Tianxin is a bit impressed by the MC's knowledge and asks him if he is also a scientist. Duan nervously tells him that he is just a student at a university. The professor then asks Chao when they are going to leave since he is eager to start his research. He tells him that they have already found a suitable car. A few moments later, we see them driving a bus through the city. The commander asks Duan if he actually got his powers after eating a monster core. He wants to know if he can also get stronger by eating a genetic core. Duan confirms it but warns that it's dangerous since he could become a zombie. He advises him to wait till the professor is able to extract pure genetic energy by getting rid of the viruses. The commander looks at the road with a neutral expression and apologizes for the question. The MC assures him that he won't have to wait long. He notices the commander getting a bit stressed and asks him if he wants to get the powers quickly. Chao explains that Commander Guan has been secretly gathering awakened soldiers, while Luo is focusing on shelters, potentially putting himself at risk. He wants to get powers like him so he can protect Commander Luo. Hearing Luo's name makes Duan angry. He assures him that Luo will never lose to Captain Guan no matter how many soldiers he gathers. He had never heard Guan's name in his previous life, so he assumes that he must have lost to Luo. Chao tells him that the commander wants to meet him, to which the MC says that he also wants to meet the commander. Finally, they arrive at the shelter, which is still under construction. In just a few days, the workers have made great progress. The MC looks out the window at the buildings under construction and feels impressed with how much Commander Luo has accomplished. As the bus passes some guards and heads toward the shelter, Cao explains that most of the awakened people are following Commander Guan. Commander Luo had the rest of them helping with the construction. When Duan and Goldie get off the bus to check out the work, a girl shouts at them from behind and tells them to move. She has lost control of her bike and is driving straight towards them. Duan calmly stops the bike with one hand, causing the girl to fly off. While she's in midair, screaming, he catches her effortlessly. She is shocked as he asks if she's okay. She quickly apologizes, but the MC reassures her that everything is fine. Chao walks up to them and asks the girl, Ling, what she's doing there. She seems confused, saying she thought the captain had died because Commander Luo couldn't contact him. Chao Karate chops the girl on her head and orders her to answer the question. She tells him that she is waiting for the survivors. As the survivors arrive, he orders Ling to take Dajian to the medics for treatment and show the scientists to the lab. He then looks at the MC and tells him that he should rest while he reports everything to Captain Luo. He says that he will arrange a meeting with him soon. Before leaving, he also advises him to be cautious, as Captain Guan holds a lot of power here, and Duan isn't on good terms with him. He tells him not to do anything reckless until he meets with Captain Luo. The MC realizes that it's best to avoid crossing paths with Guan for now and to focus on meeting with Captain Luo, as his resources could help find his sister. Over a loudspeaker, Ling instructs the survivors to get in line for a health check, warning that anyone infected won't be allowed in. Some survivors aren't happy with the strict rules, but she explains that safety is the priority. They also need to fill out forms before proceeding. Duan fills out his form and thinks Captain Luo is handling things wisely. He knows how bad things can get when safety rules are ignored. As people chat among themselves, Ling asks them to follow her. They move through the checking area where a girl looks at all the forms. When she looks at the MC's form, she's surprised to see his name and asks if he's really Duan Fei. He doesn't recognize her, but Goldie barks, reminding him that they've met before. She introduces herself as Ling Wenwen and explains that he recently saved her group. He smiles, surprised she's now part of the medical team. They briefly talk about Xiake, and Ling mentions that while Xia is stronger than she is, she's been facing some problems lately. As the two of them talk, the people in line grow impatient. Duan decides to move on and leaves Goldie behind since he could be carrying a virus. Ling is a bit surprised to see him this small and cute. The MC reassures her that Goldie is well behaved and there's nothing to fear. She invites him to dinner along with Xia, and he agrees before heading off for his medical exam. After the exam, the doctor tells him to wait for his results in the waiting room. Soon a lot of soldiers carrying weapons enter and begin checking everyone. They call out for a man named Wang Dazhuang. The man responds and asks them if anything is wrong. Before he can say anything, two soldiers grab him, telling him that he is infected and he has to go into quarantine. Wang tries to argue, but the commander insists this isn't a place for games. A visible infection can be seen spreading around his neck as he is taken away by the soldiers. The commander then announces that everyone except Duan is cleared so they can leave. The MC is a bit annoyed hearing this as everyone starts avoiding him due to fear of being infected. As they all leave, he looks at the MC and tells him that he is an important guest as per Captain Luo's orders. He asks him to follow him to a different residence. The MC soon finds himself sitting in his new room, looking at a photo of his sister. Thoughts about her keep him restless. He wants to know where she is. At the same time, Jinyue is undergoing tests and is placed in a capsule like others in her situation. A man asks how the tests are going, and the assistant says they haven't found what they're looking for. Suddenly, there's a knock at Duan's door. He doesn't know who it is. Ling Wenwen shows up with Goldie, reminding him about dinner and deciding to pick him up right away. She offers to take him to a cafeteria. Grateful, he picks up his pet and thanks her, realizing just how hungry he is. As they walk out, he comments that he didn't recognize her in those clothes, and Ling laughs, saying she had changed into her casual clothes. She also tells him that Xia might be in the cafeteria and says that they should surprise her. Duan agrees but asks her if Xia is in trouble since she previously told him that. Ling explains that Captain Guan's people have been bothering Xia ever since she awakened. She refused, but they haven't stopped pressuring her. Hearing Guan's name makes the MC furious. He's frustrated that he is trying to take control of all the awakened people. He feels that he needs to do something about it, otherwise Commander Luo will be in danger. Just then, a siren goes off, announcing a conflict in the third-floor dining room. Reinforcements are needed. The MC is confused, so asks what's happening. Wenwen guesses it's about Xia again, and this is the third time they have set off a warning. The MC immediately heads to the dining room, telling Wenwen to take him there. In the dining room, one of Captain Guan's men tries to convince Xia to join them, promising she'll get anything she wants. Tired of the pressure, she apologizes and stands up, saying she won't agree no matter what. She doesn't approve of Guan's politics and tells them to leave. One of the men blocks her way, asking her to think it over. She furiously asks the man to let her go, but the man insists they don't want to serve under Captain Luo forever. The man tells her that his talents need a suitable environment to grow. He doesn't want to work under Luo and just help in the construction of the shelter. This makes her even more angry. She immediately uses her telekinesis to make the floor shake. Guan's men jump back. They are scared but impressed by her powers at the same time. One of them lights a flame, saying she's not the only one with abilities. Behind him, another man reveals his power of mental transformation. The F-class fire guy rushes in and tries to attack her. Xia realizes that both of the men are awakened. Before the attack can reach her, it is blocked by Duan. Both the man and Xia are surprised upon seeing him. He looks at the man and tells him that he didn't expect to be meeting him like this. One of Guan's main guys isn't happy to see him and says they need to teach him a lesson for interfering. The fire guy speaks up about his true feelings regarding the MC and prepares another attack. He asks the fat metal guy to hold him down. The fatty charges at Duan, confident that he won't be able to break through his defenses. As the man charges at him, the MC wonders if he can use his ability to devour spells on humans. But he quickly realizes that if he starts killing, he could be kicked out. And that's something he definitely wants to avoid. He knows that he only needs about 30% of his power to deal with the metal guy. He hits the man so hard that his armor cracks, and he's sent flying into a wall, smashing everything in his way. The fire-wielding guy is stunned, but before he can react, the MC is on top of him. With a terrifying expression, he asks the guy why he chose Guan Zhonghua. The guy admits that he was wrong and falls down on his knees to beg for mercy. Instead of saying anything, the MC punches him in the stomach. Xia watching from the side, is shocked that Duan defeated both awakened fighters with just 2 hits. As the two lay on the floor, the MC approaches their leader, who warns him not to get closer because he's a direct subordinate of Commander Guan. The leader threatens him and warns him not to stick his nose into other people's business. However, our boy doesn't care. He grabs the man by his face, glaring him in the eyes. The man trembles and tries to speak, but Xiake steps in. She tells him that the man will die if he keeps holding him like that, and if that happens, he might be in trouble. Duan realizes she's right and tosses the subordinate to the floor. Meanwhile, a group of soldiers arrives to surround and arrest everyone involved. The leader orders the soldiers to surround the rioters. The soldiers immediately surround the group. The man asks them how dare they raise their hand against an official, and orders the soldiers to arrest Duan and Xiake. Instead of surrendering, my man ignites his absorption flame, looking them straight in the eyes, and asks them if they really have the guts to do it. The man warns him that they are the law here and he'll be thrown out of the shelter if he resists. He raises his hand and asks him if he is also working under Commander Guan. Xiake calms him down and tells him that his actions can be bad for Commander Luo. The MC reluctantly lowers his head and accepts his fate. The leader orders that he and Xiake be handcuffed and put in separate jails. Before they're taken away, Duan asks her to look for a girl named Xinyue, his sister. She asks him if he didn't come to the shelter with his sister. He reveals that he lost her because of Commander Guan, and he doesn't know where they are keeping her. She had awakened her supernatural ability, and he was guessing that they might have brought her here to work for Guan. Upon hearing this, Shaka assures him that she will look for his sister. A crowd of survivors gathers in the dining room, gossiping about how the MC managed to defeat 2 awakened fighters so easily. The soldiers escort him to a cell while Xiake is sent to the emergency room. As he descends a long staircase, he wonders if his sister ended up in this hideout after awakening. He suspects she either became Guan's subordinate or was arrested, and he's determined to find out. When they reach the room, it's clear it's a brutal place, covered in blood. The prisoners are ready to teach him a lesson. Their leader, Kion, orders them to make sure Duan understands that defying him will lead to death, and no one will remember him. The MC effortlessly breaks out of his handcuffs. He doesn't want to waste his time in a place like this since he can't see his sister anywhere. The men attack him, but he easily dodges and counters their moves. He realizes he's at a disadvantage and decides to fight more strategically. Using acrobatic moves, he spins and kicks them all at once. Kion can't believe Duan is taking down 6 of his best fighters. Realizing he's next, he pulls out a flask containing the blood of a zombie. He warns him that his men will inject the fluid into Ling Wenwen if anything happens to him. This only angers the MC further. Just then, Captain Cao arrives in the basement. Kion looks at the captain in shock and asks him why he is there. Chow tells him that he heard reports of him lynching regular citizens and informs him that it is highly illegal. Kion frantically points at the unconscious men behind him and tells him that his men were the ones who got injured. Unfortunately for him, Chow notices the test tube in his hands and asks him why he is holding such a dangerous liquid. Bro starts making excuses trying to defend himself, but it barely makes any sense. Chow asks him to tell all of those excuses to Commander Luo and says that even Guan will not be able to save him this time. The man starts hurling threats as he gets dragged outside by the soldiers. Chow turns to the MC and expresses his relief for arriving on time. Duan smiles and asks him if he truly believes that he is in any danger. Captain Chow tells him that he was more worried about them because they didn't need more bodies piling up. The MC then asks him for a favor, but before he can reveal what it is, Chow interrupts and reveals that he already knows what he wants. He tells him that they need to get out of his place first since it stinks a lot. As they head to the elevator, the MC asks him where they are going. The captain maintains the suspense and says that he'll find out soon. When they enter a room, Duan is shocked. It's Commander Luo's office. Stunned, he greets Commander Luo. He returns the greeting and skips formalities, inviting him to sit. Duan asks why he's been called. In his past life, he had only seen statues of Captain Luo, but now he's sitting with him. Luo explains that he knows why the MC came to the shelter. Guan sent assassins after him and his sister, and now his sister is missing. The MC is surprised Luo knows his story, but he is still determined to take his revenge. Luo shares that during the apocalypse, he and Guan were both in the military, but Guan cared more about power and wealth. He knows Guan wants to take over the shelter, and it's his responsibility to stop him. Duan asks him if he really wants to fight Guan. He confirms his intentions to fight him, but reveals that they aren't in a good position and need his help. The MC asks him about Guan's strength. The commander explains that Guan controls about half the army and has secretly recruited around 100 awakened people, while they only have 20. Duan sees a chance since Luo still controls the lab. Guan isn't interested in the lab because it doesn't directly aid in combat. The MC reveals that ordinary people can awaken, which is shocking to hear for the commander. He explains that people can obtain source weapons, made from a special material found in zombie genetic cores. This powerful weapon could help them not only fight Guan, but also defend the shelter. Excited, Luo slams the table asking if he is serious. Duan writes something down, explaining that it's the basic idea for creating a source weapon. Luo reads it in disbelief, realizing it could be the key to saving humanity. He thanks the MC, who brushes it off as his duty. He is relieved that Luo didn't ask how he knew all this, as it allowed him to keep his secret. He then pulls out a photo of his sister and asks Luo for help finding her. The commander studies the photo and tells him that things aren't so simple with his sister. He shows him a video. The video shows some surveillance footage from when she disappeared. After watching, the MC is horrified. Luo explains that while he initially suspected Guan, he now believes his sister was taken by an unknown organization. Duan is confused since he suspected Guan of his sister's disappearance. He wonders what kind of organization could have taken her. He starts thinking of other possibilities, perhaps another shelter, or even the mysterious woman who appeared there. Luo interrupts his thoughts, calling him back to the present. He asks him if he is all right, and the MC tells him that he is fine. The commander reassures him and promises to help find his sister as long as he is alive. The MC thanks him but can't stop wondering why it has to be his sister who was taken away. The captain then pulls out a box and tells him that he has another hidden card under his sleeve that could allow him to defeat Guan without even using the genetic weapon. He hands him the box, which is a bit surprising for him. When Duan opens it, he finds only a black cube. Curious, he asks what it is. The commander snaps his fingers, and the cube transforms into a thick liquid. It starts wrapping around the commander's arm like new skin until his arm is completely covered by this new material. The captain puts on the armor and explains that it is a relic from ancient gods who had disappeared from their world. In old stories and myths, the gods created the world and the humans. They were powerful beings with the ability to change the world and shift the oceans. Artifacts like these are the proof of the existence of those entities. They contain knowledge and the essence of those beings, which surpasses what humanity can currently understand. After a year of continuous investigations, humanity found out that all of those artifacts had been hidden in one place. It was called the Relic Room of the Ancient Gods. This small cube, the captain says, is the armor of a heavenly god. Duan is shocked, realizing that ancient myths and legends might be true. He asks the captain where the relic room might be. The captain reveals that he has kept the ruins secret for 40 years to protect them. He tells him that the relic room is right underneath the shelter. This makes the MC even more shocked, and he gets up from his chair. He asks the commander if there are more relics, but Luo tells him that he only has one, and that mining more without damaging the ruins is difficult. Currently, only the first floor of the ruins is accessible, but soon they will unlock the second floor. In Duan's past life, he knew that unlocking the second floor was key to defeating Guan. The captain hopes that the MC will help with mining the ruins. As a reward, he can choose any relic from the room. The MC agrees but tells him that he also needs his help in finding his sister. The captain agrees, and they plan to discuss more about the shelter's future. Meanwhile, Cao, who has been waiting outside, yawns as the meeting takes longer than expected. Duan apologizes to him for the delay and says that he got too engrossed in their conversation to notice the time passing. Cao laughs and tells him that it is all fine since the two of them seem to have come to an agreement. As they walk to the elevator, he offers to send him back, but he insists on going alone and tells him to rest for a while. At the same time, the commander contacts Professor Jiang to show him something. The professor tells him that he is a bit busy since a young man named Duan has inspired him to do more research. He asks the commander to spit out what he wants him to see. The commander tells him that there is no rush since the man he mentioned was the one who gave him the item. The commander tells him that he never believed that the two of them would need advice from a young man like Duan. However, he can't imagine himself going against Guan and the apocalypse without his help. Leaving the building, Duan notices Goldie, his dog, running toward him. As he greets the dog, Xia and Wen also show up. Seeing him out of the prison, Xia asks him if he is all right. He tells her that he is fine and asks her how she is feeling. She shares that after she was captured, Commander Luo immediately sent people to rescue her. She also checked the archives, but Xinyu's name isn't on the list of awakened ones, which disappoints Duan. Wanting to lighten the mood, he suggests they go eat and talk. Meanwhile, Commander Guan learns that the MC has come to the shelter, and it makes him furious. He suspects that Commander Luo has recruited him as an ally. Enraged, he orders his men to keep recruiting awakened ones and strengthen their forces. With a furious expression, he tells himself that he doesn't care what Commander Luo has up his sleeve. He believes that he can't be defeated no matter what the commander tries. Luo has always overshadowed him for the last 30 years, but now he believes it is his time to rise. Elsewhere, a guard reports for his shift, relieved to be free from duty. He asks his colleague if anything has happened during his watch, but the other guard reassures him that all is quiet. Under Commander Luo's leadership, he feels safe. However, the other guy tells him that they still need to remain cautious. Suddenly, he freezes in fear and starts to tremble as he tells him that there are a lot of zombies nearby. The other guard looks at him in horror, and a siren begins blaring throughout the building. The voice over the intercom instructs non-combatants to take shelter. Everyone is confused and begins to run around, trying to understand the alarm. The guard urges them not to panic and tells them to return to their rooms. Chow bursts into the commander's office, saying they have a serious problem. The commander has already heard the noise outside and wants to know what's happening. He reports that a large group of zombies is approaching from 15 kilometers away and will reach their base in 2 hours. The commander immediately asks how many zombies there are. After a slight pause, he estimates around 10,000. The commander feels terrified upon hearing this. Their base is still under construction and not ready to face such a large number of zombies. He immediately takes his secretary on the phone and orders him to call Commander Guan. When Guan answers, the commander informs him about the situation. Guan already knows that if 10,000 zombies reach the shelter, it will be overrun in minutes. He believes his awakened squad is the only one that can handle it. Guan offers military support, but has one condition. He wants all of Luo's military powers transferred to him. Luo feels tense and realizes that even in this life-or-death situation, Guan is trying to gain power. He says that in the apocalypse, only those with absolute power can rule as king. He offers him the safety of his shelter and the people inside in return for all of his power. With the clock ticking, the commander is forced to make a choice. He can't let the shelter be destroyed, so he reluctantly agrees to his condition if he helps save the shelter. Chow is horrified and asks him why he would agree to transfer his powers. The commander replies that they have no choice and must ask Guan for help when lives are at stake. He instructs him to gather the soldiers. He was too close to figuring it all out, but the zombie attack occurred at the worst possible time. At the same time, Guan orders his troops to focus all their strength on the front lines against the zombies. He tells the captain that he doesn't want his shelter to be damaged. He also wants to show off his strength in front of Luo. As all the soldiers gather in the hall, they discuss their chances and realize that Guan's awakened squad might be able to help. Commander Luo steps forward, and all the soldiers fall silent. He announces that they all may have heard of the zombies approaching their shelter. He tells them not to worry or be afraid. They will protect their home at all costs. 2/3 of their forces have gone to the front lines, and Guan's squad is also ready to fight, even if it costs them their lives. The commander emphasizes that those who stay behind must defend the camp and guard every entrance, as they are the last line of defense. He hopes everyone can put aside their differences and give their best. Meanwhile, people in the shelter are running around in panic. Duan comes out of his room, unable to sleep because of the noise. Chow runs towards him, explaining that 10,000 zombies are attacking the shelter and that Luo has asked Guan for help. He reveals that the commander has agreed to hand over his military authority after they defend the shelter. Considering his history with Guan, the commander was worried that he might get harmed after the power shift, so he instructed him to hide him for now. Duan is mad about the commander handing over his powers while a wave of zombies approaches. He insists on meeting with Luo, but Chow tells him that he has gone to lead the soldiers on the front lines. He says that he also needs to reach the front lines soon and hands him a map showing the escape route. While running, he assures him that he will make arrangements for the safety of Sia and Wenwen, so he doesn't need to worry. The MC tries to stop him, but the captain leaves in a hurry. He is confused about why the zombie wave is happening now, as it was supposed to appear a month later in his past life. Previously, it was 500,000 zombies, but at this point of the shelter, it is difficult for them to fight even 10,000. He looks at the map and thinks about what to do. Outside, the city is filled with thousands of zombies approaching the shelter mindlessly. Combat helicopters are already in the area. From above, all they can see are the glowing eyes of the zombies, and it is a terrifying sight. One of the pilots reports that the advance team has reached its destination. They get the order to start the battle. Tanks begin firing at the zombies, focusing their firepower. The operators know they must slow them down and prevent the zombies from breaking through their lines at all costs. The helicopter starts launching rockets on the streets, setting everything on fire. Despite some zombies dying, there are still too many left. A soldier reports they're running low on ammunition, and the leader panics. He frantically starts calling for backup because their team isn't strong enough to hold off the wave of zombies. The zombies continue walking forward while covered with fire. He calls on the radio that the advance team doesn't have enough firepower to keep the wave of zombies at bay. The huge horde of zombies rushes towards the soldiers. They all ask the leader what his plan is. He makes a determined expression and tells them that they should get everyone together and fight back. They can't let the zombies reach their friends and family. While trying to hold off the zombies, one of them manages to evade the bullets and jumps on top of the leader. As he stares at the zombie, he wonders if this is the end for him. Suddenly, the zombie is hit with immense firepower. It is revealed that the awakened fighters under Guan's authority have arrived. They tell the soldiers that they will be taking charge from here on. The military hands over control without hesitation. The awakened team is excited to finally be in a real battle. Their leader orders the group to attack the zombies, and they all charge at them together. They try giving it their all as they don't want to embarrass their commander. The awakened fighters and the zombies collide in a terrifying battle. As the fighters engage the zombies, the soldiers watch in shock. They can't believe how these fighters can kill the zombies so effortlessly. It is clear that the difference between their strengths is astronomical. The awakened soldier smiles as he kills the zombies, saying that it is similar to squishing ants. However, in bragging, he loses his focus and a zombie creeps behind him. His leader screams at him to look behind. He turns in fear but is too late. The zombie cuts him in half. The zombie seems to have some kind of sharp blades for its hands. It screams loudly after killing the awakened soldier. It turns out that some zombies have awakened abilities too. With about 200 awakened soldiers in the army, they start to doubt if they can take on all the zombies. The awakened fighters can handle regular zombies, but with the awakened zombies, the zombies have the upper hand in numbers. The leader starts to wonder what they can do to win. A fierce battle breaks out between the fighters and the massive zombie wave. Meanwhile, commanders and high-ranking officials observe this fight from the shelter walls. Commander Guan receives a call from his men, who report that 50 awakened fighters have already died. He orders all the soldiers to retreat immediately. He turns to Luo and says that they can't just sacrifice their awakened fighters for nothing. They need to retreat back to the shelter to regroup and get equipment. The commander knows that this is their only choice. He asks Chao how much firepower they have left. Cao replies that it's not much, as they weren't ready for this many zombies. Moreover, their advanced team has already used a lot of resources trying to hold off the zombies. Luo knows that they have to stop the zombies before they reach the shelter. He instructs Chao to gather a team to lay mines in front of the shelter. He also needs to tell Sia to guide the civilians to safety. If necessary, they can initiate their final defense and close the air raid shelter. Cao salutes the commander and hurries to obey the order. Luo also orders the rest of the captains to defend their assigned points. Guan sees this and thinks to himself that Luo can still command his troops in a hopeless scenario. This makes him a bit impressed by him. As 20 minutes pass in silence, a large explosion suddenly erupts in the distance, indicating that the zombie wave has triggered the mines. This is the cue for the guns to start firing again, and more missiles launch into the explosion zone, causing several more blasts. Guan warns Luo that their firepower won't hold the zombies off much longer. He tells him that they have no choice but to admit humanity's defeat. However, our boy Luo isn't going to give up this easily. He still believes that they can survive. Guan starts to panic and asks him to stop showing off. He tells him to follow him and join hands with the awakened zombies. Together, they may have a chance to come back soon. He thinks that they can't defend the shelter anymore and tells Luo that it's hopeless. Suddenly, alarms sound again, indicating that strangely shaped zombies have emerged from underground, causing panic among the guards. The commanders can see the zombies approaching from below. Chao urges Commander Luo to head to the air raid shelter since it is too dangerous for them to stay there. Luo wonders if even Chao has given up hope. At that moment, a zombie leaps over the walls, shocking everyone. Cao orders the soldiers to protect Luo, but it's too late. The zombie is flying directly toward him. Commander Luo has no time to react, so he watches as the zombies hovers over him. However, before the zombie can reach him, it is sliced in half by someone. That someone turns out to be Duan. He apologized for being late, explaining he was looking for weapons. Luo is surprised and wants to ask more, but the MC interrupts him and tells him that he is so untrustworthy since he already ditched him after making an alliance with him. He tells Luo to leave everything to him and assures him that nothing will happen to the shelter. While looking at him, the commander realizes that hope always comes with despair. However, he can't believe that the Emek is planning to fight the zombies alone. With Goldie on his shoulder, our boy is confident that he can fight off all the zombies in that wave. He jumps off the wall of the shelter and smiles at the dog, telling him that it's his turn to show. As soon as he hears the command, the dog's eyes start to glow. In an instant, Goldie transforms into a giant monster with massive claws and rushes at the zombies. People on the wall watch in shock. They think that the MC will get himself killed by jumping off. Suddenly, a huge whirlwind of fire rises from below as Goldie takes off. Everyone is stunned, but they notice Duan riding the monster. Commander Luo begins to think that the MC might actually defeat the wave of zombies. While riding the monster dog, the MC urges him to go full speed ahead. In an instant, the two of them dive into the crowd of zombies, tearing through them like a rocket. The MC gets off his ride and heads towards the zombies while carrying his sword. He starts slashing through the zombies like butter. It's a chaotic scene as he moves swiftly from one group of zombies to another, showing no fear. It seems like he is fighting a literal ocean of zombies. He knows that he has to kill them all in groups. He flies up in the air and takes a good look at the zombies. Just as expected, their numbers are unbelievable. He never imagined himself to be fighting such a large group of zombies all by himself. However, he knows that he has to protect the shelter for the sake of his own sister. He spins through the air, cutting down everything in his way. Just then, he comes across an F-grade awakened snake zombie. He realizes that there are quite a lot of awakened zombies in the horde. There was no chance that Guan's awakened fighters could take them on by themselves. The monster starts to breathe fire towards the MC, but he dodges it. He knows that he has to stop these zombies outside the shelter since they will wreak havoc once they get inside. Determined to stop it, he flies at the monster, but his sword breaks against its tough scales. He throws away his sword as he realizes that his regular weapons won't work against this monster. He needs to use his supernatural abilities. As he charges at the monster, he gets a notification that he has killed 786 regular zombies. The monster screams as Duan engulfs it in purple flames, easily defeating it and gaining 796 evolution points. However, he seems a bit disappointed that he has only killed over 700 zombies. He comments that he has his work cut out for him. He takes out another sword and continues slashing through the regular zombies. He finds it inconvenient to activate the ability Devouring with his bare hands. He wonders if infusing his ability into his weapon will have the same effect. As he infuses his skill with the weapon, it turns purple. He tests it on the zombies and finds out that he can use the ability Devouring without even touching a zombie if he uses his weapon as a medium. However, it seems like normal weapons won't be able to withstand the full power of ability Devouring. His sword doesn't seem like it can last very long, but it should hold against the normal zombies. Meanwhile, Goldie gathers flames and unleashes a massive fire attack, burning all the zombies in its path. As Duan watches this, he can't help but think how effective large area attacks are against a huge number of enemy units. However, it also has an apparent downside that it uses too much mana. People on the wall can't believe he is holding back the zombie horde all by himself. Commander Luo watches as the expressions of people slowly change from dreadful to hopeful. He orders Cao to gather all the awakened fighters in the shelter to help him. They can't just watch while a young guy who just entered the shelter fights their battle. Meanwhile, Guan feels a bit terrified as he watches the MC fight. He realizes his true strength and thinks to himself that he won't forgive him. He knows he has to do something since he can't just stand still and wait for the MC to take his revenge on him. Goldie stands in front of the zombies in his terrifying monster form. The zombies rush at him at once and start climbing on him. Suddenly he bursts into flames, incinerating the zombies that are on him. Duan turns around and is surprised to see him in that form. He remembers that Goldie had to use that form when fighting the giant lizard. It looks like the zombies are pushing him to the limits. The dog is furious and unleashes a huge attack. The firepower is so destructive it can still be clearly seen from the shelter wall. The attack creates a massive amount of destruction, shocking everyone watching. They can hardly believe the power of the dog, which seems even stronger than artillery. As the dust settles, the people feel relieved that this creature is on their side. However, all this explosive power caused him to utilize all of his energy. Goldie is now back to his normal form. Duan looks at him and is shocked to notice all the genetic cores on the ground. These are from all the zombies that Goldie has just defeated. The dog collapses from exhaustion, but the energy from the crystals starts flowing toward him. Goldie is surrounded by a giant cocoon filled with energy, indicating that he is evolving. The MC looks at him and realizes that he has absorbed all the energy from the genetic cores of the zombies he killed. This means that the special energy in his body has peaked and he is about to evolve. However, the energy is also attracting all the zombies towards him. It takes time for someone to evolve, and during that time, they are vulnerable to attack. The MC realizes that his dog is an easy target for the zombies. He rushes to protect his pet, thinking how important Goldie's powers will be for the battles ahead. The zombie wave he is facing is small compared to the waves he is going to face in the future. They may contain over 100,000 or even 1,000,000 zombies. As he spins around with his sword killing all the zombies, he thinks to himself that it's not only him who needs to get stronger, but his companions also need to improve. As the fight continues, the MC starts to feel tired. Even though ability Devouring can help him regain his strength and stamina, his mental strength continues to wear out. His dog was supposed to take on more zombies, but unexpectedly he evolved during battle. He has already cleaned most of the normal zombies, and the ones that remain are the awakened ones. However he keeps fighting, his mental state might collapse. He has faced a similar situation in his past life, where he gave his all in his final battle, and died as a result. However, he won't give away his life this time since he has too many things to protect. He burns with a new wave of determination as he remembers that his sister is still waiting for him. He knows that he can't give up just now. He stands still as the awakened zombies approach him. Before they can attack, he swiftly cuts through them using his sword. However, he misses one of the zombies which tries to attack him using its claw. Suddenly, a group of awakened soldiers arrive to help him, throwing projectiles to stop a huge zombie hand from attacking. Duan is surprised and asks them why they came. The girl smiles and tells him that the shelter is their home, so they can't let him fight for it alone. They gather weapons for him to show their respect and gratitude. The girl uses her ability to throw a bunch of swords in his direction. Duan turns to face the zombies again and tells the group to finish this battle together. Commander Luo notices that the tide of battle is turning in their favor. He tells Guan that they haven't lost yet, but when he turns around to see his reaction, he notices that the commander is nowhere to be found. One of the soldiers informs him that Commander Guan boarded a helicopter and left a few moments ago. He also reveals that there are extremely destructive weapons on that helicopter. This statement strikes Luo and he can't believe what Guan is about to do. As the wave of zombies continues, Duan instructs everyone to be cautious. He tells those without attacking abilities to stay back and protect the dog. They organize themselves, and the battle begins. One soldier with strong defensive abilities uses his power to repel the zombie attacks. Another girl charges through the crowd, saying she can explode anything she touches. Duan realizes that Guan's team knows their abilities well, allowing them to work together effectively. He tells Jia to stay behind and protect Goldie from everyone else. She agrees but notices that he seems mentally worn out and suggests he take a break. The MC looks back at her and tells her that he is fine. He tells her that every second is precious right now, so she doesn't have to worry about him. He leaves Goldie in her care. Just then, a soldier with the Featherfall ability approaches him, calling him a hero. He uses his ability to buff him. Duan is a bit surprised hearing the word hero, but the guy tells him that he saved all of them by showing up. If he hadn't gone against the zombies, they might have all died by now. Without even knowing it, the MC has become a hero for others. He realizes what it feels like to bear the trust and expectations of others. Several people stand under huge zombies, calling on the radio for reinforcements. One of them has already given up. However, the MC arrives at just the right time to assist them. His eyes shine with determination as he passes the two fighters and attacks the zombie. He wants to assist everyone he can. Duan slices the massive zombie in half, leaving the soldiers in shock. They can't believe he defeated it with just one blow. After that, he lands on the ground and tells them to regroup with the team. He instructs them not to get lost and to concentrate their firepower. He says that he can take care of the front lines. The soldiers run away, calling him a hero and telling him to be careful. Duan knows his mental state won't last long, so he needs to finish this while he still has strength. The waves of zombies keep coming, and one of them tries to intimidate him. However, it doesn't work. The MC's gaze alone strikes fear into everyone in his path. He cuts through a horde of zombies, killing 150 of them, and one awakened zombie, which earns him 500 points. After this attack, his sword breaks. However, a huge zombie approaches him from behind. Despite not having a weapon, he isn't going to stop fighting. He uses his bare hands to hold the giant back. The soldiers watch Duan and feel inspired. Their leader screams at them to assist the hero and take some burden off his soldiers. With fewer than 1,000 zombies left, all the soldiers use their skills to destroy the zombies as a team. They push forward, knowing victory is close. After 15 minutes, a helicopter appears over the wall. Luo looks at it in confusion, unsure of what's happening. An assistant informs him that Commander Guan is on the line. Luo takes the microphone from the soldier and starts talking to the commander. He orders him to stop what he is doing immediately and return to the shelter. With despair in his voice, Guan says that he may already have guessed what he is about to do. He tells him that he can't let Duan live, or else he will have to die. Luo screams at him and says that he can look over whatever he did in the past, but this is too much. He is going to kill the person who has protected everyone with his life. He advises Guan to not act rashly and even assures him that he will apologize to Duan on his behalf. However, the commander isn't ready to. He furiously tells him that there is no way he will apologize to a brat like him. He believes this is the perfect plan because if Duan dies, the shelter will become his. He tells Luo to hold his end of the deal and hand over all the military power to him after all of this is over. Luo tells him not to mess around since they wouldn't even be alive right now if it were not for Duan. The commander tells him that he is not thinking right. He says that there aren't a lot of zombies left and the MC is weak fighting them all. This means that it is the perfect opportunity to take him out. He laughs and tells him that his awakened fighters can take care of him. Meanwhile, the soldiers watch the helicopter with curiosity, wondering who sent it. One of the awakened fighters realizes it's Commander Guan. At that moment, the commander yells for Duan to die and fires missiles at him. The missiles fly toward the MC at high speed, and soon there is a massive explosion that shocks everyone. Duan notices the missiles and is confused as to why they are being fired towards him. He realizes too late that he can't evade them. She tries to stop the missiles using her telekinesis but fails. Her power can't control something moving that fast. A huge explosion occurs as the missiles hit the ground. Luo watches in horror, calling out Duan's name, fearing the loss of such a brave soldier. One of Commander Guan's squad members is also confused and wonders if the commander actually killed their hero. The squad falls to their knees, feeling hopeless as they think they cannot defeat the awakened zombies. Xia refuses to believe that Duan is dead. She screams through the flames asking the MC about his promise to save his sister. She tells him that he can't die in such a place since his sister is still waiting for him. Commander Guan uses his mic to address the soldiers below. He tells everyone that the heroic young soldier has died in battle. However, such sacrifices are unavoidable during times of war. He tells the soldiers that they need to stand up again and get rid of the zombies, since that is the best way to repay the sacrifice of their hero. He announces that he is going to command the battle from now on, and assures them that victory is just around the corner. Cao is mad since he knows that Commander Guan was the one who attacked the MC. He turns to Commander Luo and tells him that they can't just turn a blind eye to him. Luo tells him that all the fighters in the battle are under the command of Guan, so there isn't much they can do. However, he won't forget about the MC this easily. Xia warns against trusting Commander Guan, claiming he has been trying to kill Duan for a long time. One of the soldiers turns back and tells her that even if everything she said is true, they still can't do anything but fight the zombies for now. They shout that there's no time for discussion, and at that moment, two huge awakened zombies emerge from the flames. The monsters are on fire and attack the squad, but then they suddenly fall to the ground. The squad is confused when Duan emerges from the flames. Bro looks like a completely different man. He talks about Commander Guan, and says that he is ready to forgive him once he finds out that he didn't kidnap his sister, and was going to work together with Commander Luo. However, he used the innocent lives of those inside the shelter to threaten Commander Luo into handing him all his power. Guan watches in horror as he realizes that his attack wasn't enough to kill him. Duan pulls a sword from the ground and tells Guan that he is to blame for the situation. As monsters attack him, he swings his sword a few times, moving past the squad. The commander starts to panic and promises everyone a promotion if they manage to kill him. The soldiers have already seen what he has done for them, so none of them step forward to stop him. Guan grows impatient and tells the MC that he surely won't be able to survive a machine gun. He starts firing bullets at him from the plane, but Duan dodges them, moving quickly and deflecting the shots. The next second, he is standing directly behind the commander inside the plane. He asks him if he thought of his own death before he set off to kill him. Guan asks him to calm down and tells him not to follow Luo's orders. He promises to give him double the benefits that he is getting from Luo. He says that everything Luo owns will be his soon, so he should side with him. Duan lets him finish and asks if those are his last words. The commander screams for help, but then the helicopter goes quiet. Moments later, Duan lands with a bloody sword while the helicopter catches fire and starts to fall. Guan's last words are for Luo, admitting that he lost again. After getting down, the MC thanks Xia for saving him. She is surprised and asks how she saved him. He explains that he hid behind two zombies and that her healing helped him. She smiles and says that it's great that he is all right. However, it seems like the battle isn't over yet. The MC tells everyone to stay cautious and not to let down their guards. He tells the squad that with Commander Guan dead, all awakened ones will now serve under Commander Luo. The shelter will be their new home. The squad listens to him in confusion. As the last group of zombies approaches, the MC tries analyzing their numbers. There are about 1,000 zombies left, which is a lot less than before. However, most of them are awakened zombies and they have a huge numbers advantage. He doesn't know how long he can stay fighting considering his mental health, so their best bet is to buy time for Goldie. Everyone begins to use their abilities. Some defend Goldie while others attack. One defender realizes his protective barrier won't hold much longer. Duan notices the squad is struggling psychologically. He fights against awakened zombies, knowing that if they break through, Goldie and the shelter will be in danger. He urges Goldie to wake up quickly. Just then, his sword shatters, which is terrible timing because the awakened zombies are closing in. Before the zombies can reach him, Someone calls out to him from behind. It's Zia. She uses her telekinesis to send him another sword. He grabs it just in time and quickly destroys 2 zombies. He thanks her for the help when suddenly, the ground starts to crack open. Xia tells everyone to block whatever is coming. A stone man arrives and tells everyone to scatter, promising to handle it. Duan is amazed at the stone man's strength but feels the ground moving underneath. He warns the squad that the attack isn't over. Just as he says this, the ground collapses, and a monster crawls out, reaching for Goldie's cocoon. The MC panics, realizing that this monster is about to devour Goldie, and he screams in desperation as the monster swallows the cocoon that they all fought to protect. Duan, like everyone else, can't believe what he sees. Suddenly, the monster starts making a strange noise. One of the awakened ones tells everyone to run. The monster howls in pain and is consumed by flames. Then, something unbelievable happens. The crocodile monster grows huge wings that belong to Goldie. The monster keeps growing, and people are confused about what's happening. Duan feels lost and wonders if the monster absorbed Goldie's powers. He has a strong bond with Goldie, who is the closest to him in this world, except for Xinyue. Just then, Duan hears Goldie's voice. An explosion erupts where the monster was, and the dog's huge paws hit the ground. The fearsome doggo is back. It looks like Goldie has taken over the monster and has become even stronger, but Duan can hardly believe his eyes. Xia is thrilled that Goldie has returned. The MC takes a deep breath, realizing he almost fell for a trick. Now the advantage is back with the people, and it's time to defeat the zombies. Duan jumps onto Goldie's back and orders the squad to stay put because he knows they are worn out. He turns to Goldie, who has now evolved to E-class, and says that he should be able to finish everything on his own now. If he had woken up a bit later, he wouldn't have been able to hold on. With that, the 2 of them speed past the zombies and stop at the right distance from the enemy. Goldie prepares to attack, flames rising in his throat, and soon a stream of fire engulfs the battlefield. Suddenly, an awakened bull zombie grabs Goldie by the tail. Goldie turns, confused, but he doesn't like it. The bull mutant tries his best to pull the dog by his tail. Goldie stands still for a moment but then grows furious, preparing a fiery attack that grows more powerful by the second. He unleashes all his power at the bull, which withstands the attack but gets even angrier. The bull charges at Duan and Goldie, eyes blazing with rage. He tries to ram Goldie with its horns. However, the dog stands up on his hind legs and pushes back against the bull, knocking it to the ground. The bull lies still as they are surrounded by a swarm of zombies. Goldie lifts off the ground, flapping his wings, and hovers over the battlefield, glaring at the monsters below. He gathers energy to launch a massive fireball, causing the squad to scream and flee, fearing the merciless attack. He releases a fiery beam from the sky, engulfing a huge area and incinerating all the zombies. The people are terrified, knowing they could have been caught in the blast. After the attack, Goldie pants, and the battlefield is silent. All the zombies are finally dead. The squad cheers, celebrating their victory. They thank the hero for his efforts. Cao excitedly informs Commander Luo that they have won thanks to Duan. Luo looks at the battlefield and thinks to himself that his eyes didn't deceive him. He believed in the boy from the start. Xia is also impressed by the MC. Duan feels grateful for Goldie's hard work and tells him that he can land. However, he suddenly senses something coming his way and spins around. Arrows fly toward Goldie, piercing through the air. Time seems to freeze as Duan screams in horror. The squad also realizes something is wrong. They saw a ray of light flying towards the hero. Xia tells everyone to stay on high alert since there may still be zombies in the area. Fortunately, Goldie managed to dodge the attack just in time, avoiding a dire outcome. Duan looks into the smoke and wonders why there are more zombies since he can't feel their presence. He orders the dog to slowly descend to the ground. Suddenly, a footsteps out of the smoke. It's the master of the zombie wave, an E-class enemy with a bat mutation, whose attacks are infused with powerful poison. Duan looks at the zombie girl and can't believe an overlord-class zombie has appeared. After seeing the zombie girl approaching, one of the soldiers gets a bit carried away and tells the MC to rest while he finishes her. The MC tries to warn him and says that it is not an ordinary zombie. The man doesn't listen and insists she is just an ordinary zombie girl. He wants to be the one to finish the battle. The zombie girl stares at him with her red eyes, and in just a single swing, she defeats him easily, leaving his blood dripping from her fingers. The squad is shocked upon witnessing this. They couldn't believe that the girl managed to finish him off in a single strike since he was one of their strongest soldiers. They think that the guy must have underestimated the opponent and decided to charge at her together. The MC screams at them to stop because she is far beyond their level and they need to stay back. He notices Goldie lying there, unresponsive, and tells him to rest. He has been poisoned, and any movement could make it worse. Shia suggests they all stick together, but Duan argues it's too dangerous, and that approaching her would lead to certain death. He claims he has a plan, surprising everyone. His plan involves his devouring ability, which he believes will end the fight. He charges at her, thinking that brute force might work, but she doesn't move. He swings his sword, but she easily blocks his attack. He is confused by her high defense. Just as he is thinking, she counterattacks, but he barely manages to block her blow. Duan feels overwhelmed by her incredible speed and strength. He thinks she isn't even fighting at full power. As he continues to fight, his vision starts to blur. He knows he has reached his limit. He gets a glimpse of the crystal tree. Just before he loses consciousness, he sees her hand reaching for him. She grabs him by the neck and starts to choke him. Even in this situation, the MC finds a way to fight back and uses his ability to devour the zombie girl. She senses something is wrong and purple flames cover her. She immediately moves back and keeps some distance from the MC. He gets a notification telling him that his opponent is too strong, so his ability devouring will only last for 1 minute. He wonders why this limitation even exists. Understanding Duan's plan, the zombie girl raises her defenses. He knows he can't reach her easily, so he takes a fighting stance. He knows that he can't go down without a fight. His plan is to keep trying to get close to her and to search for an opening. He throws many punches, trying to limit her movement to buy time for ability devouring. Just as the MC thinks she is trying to dodge his attacks, the zombie girl unexpectedly strikes and throws a punch aimed straight at his face. He is thrown back but manages to stop himself. Frustrated, he wants to defeat her quickly but struggles to contain her. Suddenly he is shocked when the girl summons a swarm of bats, which fly straight toward him. Duan is speechless to see all the bats flying around her like that. He wonders if the female zombie released all of them. The bats scatter in all directions but aim for Duan. He watches in horror as the zombie girl raises her hand, preparing to direct the bats. She points toward the people, and they rush at them. Duan shouts for everyone to defend themselves and to be careful of the bats. The battle continues, but now the threat comes from the bats instead of zombies. Like the zombies, the bats attack, draining blood from their victims. They do not even stop for clothes, leaving nothing but drained bodies behind. The zombie woman watches mercilessly, and Duan realizes she absorbs energy through the bats, increasing her strength rapidly. The group of bats flies around in the air. Duan turns and realizes that everyone here has more energy than regular people. He understands that if this keeps going, they won't win. He knows he has to stop it at all costs. Even though his mind isn't strong right now, his body feels good. He runs toward the bats as they come at him, trying to drain his energy. Duan readies his sword and prepares to attack. All he needs is one good opening and a gap in the girl's defenses. He knows he needs to find a gap in the girl's defenses and put all his strength into one powerful blow. If he does this, he can change the battle's outcome. As he gets closer to the girl, he activates his devouring ability. With a swift swing of his sword, flames burst out, taking down several bats. The group wonders if he has taken care of the problem since the bats have stopped moving. Inside the smoke, the MC is frustrated since the zombie girl is able to react to his attack quickly. She uses the bats as a shield and attacks Duan with her wings. He manages to block her attack and suddenly disappears from sight. As the zombie girl wonders where he is, he appears behind her and tries to land a surprise attack. She senses danger and turns around just as he swings his sword again. However, she blocks his strike, breaking his sword. As he fights her, he wonders what he is worried about. He thinks he is worried about dying since the shelter might be destroyed after. He wonders why he still wants to live on no matter what odds he faces. He asks himself how he can even think about saving his sister if he can't even take on this zombie. Despite feeling useless, he recalls his determination to not give up, even if it costs him his life. His eyes shine as he grabs the zombie's hand, surprising her. He jumps and throws her down hard. Duan's strength has clearly increased. The girl tries to do the same thing he just did, moving quickly to evade attacks. He catches her wings and pins her down. Feeling something isn't right, he starts to squeeze her head. The girl screams in fear as he tears off her wings. Suddenly, Duan feels different, as if he's in a fight with zombies but also somewhere else. As he slowly opens his eyes, he jumps up, confused about his surroundings. He looks around and wonders where the zombies have gone. Behind him, a giant tree appears, and a spirit starts to descend from it. Duan recognizes it as the Tree of Evolution. He asks where he is and why he's not fighting. The spirit tells him that his mind has broken down, and he needs to evolve further to survive. The MC is confused by the answer to the tree and asks it again why he is there. He doesn't understand what's happening. The spirit suddenly tells him that there is danger, and restrains him from using its roots. He is still fighting the zombie girl back on the battlefield. The moment he tears off the girl's wings, she charges at him, furious and vowing to tear him apart. He dodges her attack and strikes back with all his might, sending her flying far away. Confused and scared, she gets back up, but the MC runs at her, hitting her hard in the head without regret. He seems to be a completely different being, almost like he is not the one in control. The girl attacks him with a strong dark energy that stops him in his tracks. With a blank expression, she looks into his soul. Seeing such a drastic change, all the awakened fighters watch him in horror. Duan stands still, slowly moving his hand. Suddenly, Sia realizes that something is off. Using her telekinesis, she pulls a sword from the ground and sends it straight into his hands. He grabs the sword and strikes the zombie, leaving her confused. He doesn't even look like a human anymore, just a robot carrying out his mission. He throws the sword fragments to the ground and immediately jumps back into battle as if the attack didn't affect him. The zombie is horrified as Duan's eyes glow. He makes one last effort, and she notices something strange. His wounds are healing. The green energy from his devouring ability is restoring him. With renewed energy, the MC swings his sword at the girl with incredible speed. The girl thinks it's impossible. She can't sense his human energy anymore. Duan radiates an incredible amount of pressure, making her realize she can't match his strength. She knows that she needs to escape quickly. Dodging him, she runs as far as she can, preparing an ability to save herself. However, our boy isn't going to let her go this easily. He flies toward her, clearing the smoke and crashing into her. He slams her against the wall, blocking all ways of escaping. He pins her left hand with the sword, preventing her from moving. The girl screams and tries to strike Duan with her right hand, but he grabs it and pushes her against the wall. He then pulls his hand back, almost asking for something. Suddenly a sword flies and lands in his hand. The sword was given to him by Zia. Everyone in the group watches this and praises her for her incredible teamwork. However, she knows what actually happened. When the MC raised his hand, she immediately knew what to do. It was almost like an unknown force compelling him to cooperate with him. Suddenly, Goldie also shows up behind her. She looks at him with confusion and asks if he can also feel that something is wrong with Duan. As the MC grabs the arm of the zombie girl, he raises his sword, almost as if he is ready to slash it off. She looks at him and thinks to herself that the Duan in front of her seems like a stranger. She questions what happened to him. After pinning her to the rock behind her, he thrusts his blade right into her hand to nail it down. The zombie lady screams in utter pain, but my guy quickly covers her mouth and activates his absorption ability. The absorption countdown begins, and in 50 seconds he's set to devour her powers. Everyone watches in awe. Anticipation builds as the countdown ticks down to 0. Once he absorbs the monster, he gains 500 evolution points from taking down a level zombie lord, plus a mysterious energy ball. Everyone cheers as they see our guy win this battle, and Commander Luo decides to meet our hero. They rush over to him, but before anyone can reach him, he starts to fall, slipping into unconsciousness. He wakes up in his subconscious mind, where he spots his sister. The brother is shocked to see her standing on her own 2 feet, but before he can catch up to her, vines suddenly shoot up from the ground, gripping his leg tight. He calls out to her, telling her to come closer, but she apologizes, saying she can't do it. She tells him that right now he's not strong enough, but she'll be waiting for the day he finally becomes stronger. With that, he abruptly wakes up in real life, drenched in sweat. Looking around, he realizes he's in a hospital, though his memory is still hazy. The question of whether the zombie swarm was wiped out crosses his mind, but he decides to worry about that later. Right now, the more important thing is checking the condition of his evolution tree. Once he enters the shrine, he's instantly surrounded by a bunch of system windows, all filled with information. It's going to take some time to process it all, so he takes his time, spending a good 30 minutes sorting everything out. When he's finally done, he discovers there are 3 major types of harvests from the zombie swarm. The first one is attack-based, and he's gained a whopping 10,000 evolution points this time around. The second one is related to his absorb ability, which has gathered a ton of new abilities. This explains why the system had so many notifications. Unfortunately, most of the abilities are low-tier, F-level ones, which aren't super useful. Plus, there aren't enough fragments to awaken them fully just yet. Lastly, there's this treasure he's never seen before, called the Energy Ball. The system congratulates him, revealing he's received a universal ability fragment at 20%. This tool can add 20% to the fragments of any ability. A smile spreads across his face because with this, he can massively boost his ability collecting speed. He decides to use his evolution points first. His power, agility, and scout skills are all at level 5, and if he wants to bump them up, he'll need 1,000 evolution points each. If he wants to upgrade his level 3 spirit to level 4, he'll need 5,000 evolution points. The system also prompts him demanding 10,000 points for perfect genetic engineering activation. He decides to put that on the back burner for now and focuses on increasing his power and agility, along with boosting his spirit. Once he's done sorting everything out, he logs out of the evolution tree system. As he stands on the rooftop, Officer Zai appears and calls him Hero. She asks what he's doing up there. He tells her not to call him that, but she just brushes it off, saying that whether he likes it or not, he's the hero of the refugees, and some people even call him the war god. She then reveals it's been 3 days since the battle, and everyone has been worried about him, especially Commander Luo, who has visited him every day. This reminds her of the time she first met him. He thanks her for being a burden for 3 days, and she accepts his gratitude with a smile. Then she asks if he's planning to leave the refuge already. He replies that he is, wanting to grow stronger and find out where his sister is. The scene then transitions to Commander Luo's office, where our boy steps in and apologizes for bothering him. The old man asks if he's feeling okay now that he's awake. Our boy confirms that he's healed completely. Duan then asks if there's been any progress on the gene potion. The old man tells him that he visited the research lab recently, and the gene potion is almost finished. They're preparing to test it out. Duan just smiles at this news, feeling relieved that he can leave with peace of mind. Commander Luo is shocked when he realizes that Duan is planning to leave the refuge. Our boy confirms it again, explaining that since his purpose for coming here is complete, he wants to go find his sister. He adds that with the gene potion development nearing completion, he believes everyone will definitely be able to handle whatever challenges come their way in the future. The old man acknowledges this and asks Duan if he needs any help for his journey. Our boy replies that he plans to go to Qinchuan to search for his sister, believing that the reason behind the zombie swarm this time might be related to that place. The old man is shocked and asks if he's thought this through. He explains that the Qinchuan Center has been in ruins since the start of the catastrophe, and no one dares approach it. No one knows what's happening inside, making it far too dangerous for him to go there. Duan reassures him, saying there's nothing to worry about because he knows what he's doing. The rumors he heard in his previous life about the abilities of those ruins must be true, so he feels he has to go. Since the old man can't stop him, he dials the phone and tells the receptionist to connect him to the research lab. 5 minutes later, the old man tells Duan to follow him to the research lab. After Duan's battle with the zombie swarm, the old man ordered Jian Tianxin to develop special equipment for him because a godly guy deserves a godly weapon. As they walk through the corridor, Duan notices commotion outside and asks what's going on. The old man reveals that the refugees are currently conducting a level distribution. The gene potion will soon be available for use, but there's only a small batch in the first phase, so they need to determine who gets priority through a selection process. He explains that their system is divided into 3 categories. The first is the escort unit, responsible for ensuring the safety of the refugees and guarding the base. The second is the hunter unit, which is a bit special. This force is made up of various small teams whose job is to eliminate zombies in the area and hunt for mutated zombies to gather evolution energy. The third is the super warrior unit, consisting mainly of members from Guanzhonghua's ACE unit. They helped take down the zombie swarm and are currently the most powerful force among the refugees. Duan finds it fascinating to see how far Commander Luo has progressed. They hop into the elevator, and once they enter the lab, they finally meet the mad scientist, Rick Sanchez, sporting a big mustache. As they follow Rick further inside, he opens a safety pod to reveal a block of metal known as memory metal. The scientist explains that it was designed to imitate the god armor on Commander Luo's hand, and tells Duan to channel his power into it. Once Duan does, the piece of metal quickly transforms into a pair of blades. He's amazed and admits he never expected their research to advance this far. The old man adds that Duan can change its physical form however he likes. When Duan channels energy into it again, the daggers morph into a ring. The scientist encourages him to feel free to use it as his weapon for the time being. He also mentions that they will soon break into the second floor of the ancient god ruins, and when that happens, they'll let Duan be the first to enter. Duan agrees, saying this is enough for now. Before leaving, he asks Commander Luo if he knows where Goldie is. The old man replies that his pet is at Ling Wenwen's place. With that, Duan takes his leave, leaving Commander Luo staring in disbelief at the young man who really did eliminate more than 10,000 zombies on his own. The old man originally thought Duan would take over either his place or Guanzhonghua's and use the refuge's resources to find his sister. But instead, Duan didn't demand anything from him and even rejected his offer to send people to Qinchuan with him. Once Duan gets his pet back, he pats Wenwen on the head. As he's about to exit the door, he runs into Officer Z. She insists on going with him, but he simply walks past her, thanking her and saying it's too dangerous. Besides, the refugees have just gone through a zombie swarm disaster and need all the manpower they can get. His pet transforms into its larger form, and together they take off, soaring through the skies. Later, once they arrive at their destination, Duan spots a few zombies and clears them out in an instant. He recalls that it's been about a week since he arrived here, and it seems he was right. There are way more mutated zombies now than there were in his previous life. Over the past week, he's tried multiple times to enter the center district, but each attempt has failed. During his scouting, he discovered a sea-level zombie already occupying the center, and he can't even imagine what kind of terrifying existence is hidden inside. Yet, every time he approaches the area, the evolution tree reacts strongly, almost as if it's urging him to hurry and get there. This only makes Duan curious what might be there hidden, and he even more wants to go inside. Duan decides to call it a day and rest, planning to figure out how to sneak into Qinchuan's center later. They enter one of the abandoned buildings where Goldie suddenly notices the presence of zombies. Duan, however, can't sense anything and mentions that they've been staying at this temporary base for 4 days, and all the zombies around here have already been eliminated. But then he remembers that Goldie's sense of smell is stronger than his own, so there could be a zombie that's able to mask its scent. He tells his little friend not to act rashly. They need to gather more information about their opponent first. Surprisingly, though, all they find are humans, a little girl and her older brother. The guy soon spots Duan standing there and shoots him a death glare. He quickly becomes defensive, stepping in front of his sister and warning Duan not to come any closer. He reassures his little sister Huan, telling her not to be afraid and to stay behind him. The guy suddenly leaps toward Duan with a dagger in hand, shouting and mistaking him for someone named Zhou Kang. He claims he's going to avenge Huan's sister, but Duan quickly slides to the left, telling the guy that he's not Zhou Kang. The man finally calms down, and when he takes a closer look at Duan, he realizes his error. Both the older brother and the little girl apologize, saying they shouldn't have charged at him like that. They also admit to eating the food stored in the room without permission. Duan reassures them that there's nothing to worry about. He introduces himself as Duan Fei and asks what he should call them. The white-head guy introduces himself as Chen Jiahao. 15 minutes pass by, and the older brother reveals that Huan's big sister, who was also his girlfriend, was tormented by Zhou Kang and his gang. She ended up dying miserably in the jaws of a monster. Now, he only has Huan left, and he's trying to protect her from danger. But he's beating himself up for being too weak and not being able to avenge her. Duan is fuming with rage, telling Chen Jiahao that it's not his fault. He says the ones to blame are those people who abandoned their morals, and he can't believe they would use a human to feed a monster. Chen Jiahao explains further that not only do they feed people to monsters, but Zhou Kang often uses humans to lure zombies as well, and they feed those humans and zombies to other monsters. Hearing this, it does not take Duan long to realize that these guys are raising monsters, but he is not sure why. He then asks Chen Jiahao to show his arm. When he does, they notice a green thing under his skin, something like a plant's seed. Duan explains that the monster needs humans to feed it because it's a mutated plant-type monster. These kinds of plant creatures can't move around to find food, so they use tricks to disguise themselves and lure prey, much like the man-eating plants in nature that attract their victims to their vicinity. Apparently, these monsters plant their spores on humans and raise them like livestock, letting them attract zombies. This method is pretty common. After the zombie apocalypse, the virus spread worldwide in an instant, infecting all living beings and turning them into brutal, bloodthirsty monsters, including plants. But unlike humans and animals, when plants were infected, they underwent some special changes. What's more precious than their rarity is the immense genetic and life energy inside plant-type monsters. There's even a rumor that says no matter how injured someone is, as long as they're still breathing, they can be healed with just a drop of a plant-type monster's life essence. Some people even claim it can make a person evolve again. Because of this rumor, during the apocalypse in his previous life, whenever a plant-type monster appeared, it would attract a lot of people trying to seize it. Duan never expected to encounter a rare plant-type monster here. As long as Duan can kill this plant-type monster and absorb the life energy inside it, he'll probably be able to enter Qinchuan's center. This way is much better than his previous plan. Chen Jiahao snaps Duan out of his thoughts, asking what he's planning to do. Duan tells him that this place isn't safe. There's a good chance they'll be found soon since the seed on his arm will reveal his location. Chen Jiahao is shocked, realizing that's why he's been getting caught so easily this whole time. Duan assures him that now that he knows about Zhou Kang and his crew, he'll help him eliminate them. Jiahao is grateful, but warns Duan that meddling with Zhou Kang is really dangerous because they have guns, and they also have abilities. Duan starts spouting some self-righteous nonsense about how he failed to protect his sister, but vows that it won't happen again. Jiahao agrees, saying running away isn't an option, and asks what they should do. Duan tells him they don't have to do anything right now. He suggests they rest well and wait for the thugs to come to them so they can find their base more easily. In the middle of the night, those disgusting thugs finally track down Duan and Jiahao. Duan asks who Zhou Kang is among the goons, but Jiahao grits his teeth, saying he didn't come with them. A gorilla-sized guy steps forward and addresses Jia Hao, blaming him for getting them scolded by their boss so many times. Without wasting a breath, he throws a solid punch right to Jia Hao's face. The gorilla turns to our boy, sternly demanding who is he. He then tells his lackeys to bring everyone to the base because they will make great bait, and he is sure that this time the boss will definitely reward them. With that, these idiots start driving our boy to their own doom. When we arrive at the base, we hear some guy begging to be killed. The goons on guard duty smirk, talking about how the boss has gotten even crazier lately. Apparently, he has brought the boyfriend of that girl inside and is forcing him to watch as he does naughty things with her. Inside, we see the boyfriend strapped to a chair, his eyes filled with anger as he watches his girlfriend being humiliated on the bed. Once the bastard is done playing around with her, he puts his shirt back on and strolls over to the boyfriend, asking if he had fun watching. This bastard is Joe Kang, the same guy who killed Jia Hao's girlfriend. The boyfriend yells in anger at this jerk, but he is soon silenced by a solid punch to his gut. He withers in pain and plops down on the ground, and Joe tells this bastard that a bereaved dog can only go mad helplessly. He keeps pounding on the blonde boyfriend for yelling. That's when the girlfriend sits back on the bed, reminding this filthy man that they had agreed that if she followed his commands, he would let her boyfriend go. The disgusting bastard just smirks in response, saying there's no way he could let her go because everyone captured is a precious ingredient to him. The girl is devastated and begins to cry, not only because this jerk is humiliating her, but also because he's going back on his word. That's when my guy makes a grand entrance by literally drilling a hole through the wall. Joe asks about this brat, but he's left utterly frozen when my guy zips past this bastard in an instant. Duan tells the girl to find a safe place to hide while Joe yells at his goons to capture this sucker. Jia Hao then also makes his grand entrance in the scene, telling them not to waste their energy since they have already subdued all their minions. Joe, on the other hand, grits his teeth upon hearing this. Suddenly, the boyfriend strapped to the seat starts calling out Duan's name as if he knows him already. Of course, Duan doesn't recognize who this guy is, so the guy introduces himself as Li Feng. This name triggers some memories for Duan, and he finally remembers that in junior high school, he often got bullied because he didn't have parents. So Li Feng always stood up against those bullies and protected Duan when he was most vulnerable. Joe's patience finally wears thin, and he transforms his hand into a mutated beast claw and promptly lunges at our guy. But Duan quickly defends himself with his daggers, using his godly speed to get behind this jerk and delivers a sharp slash across Joe's hand. Blood gushes out, making it clear to this bastard that it's the end. The once cocky Joe has now turned into a scared kitten after losing his only trump card. He begins to beg Duan not to kill him, but Duan isn't letting this bastard off the hook so easily. That's when his two friends, whose girlfriends Joe had messed with, decide to handle this scumbag on their own. They both want to take revenge for what this bastard has done to their girlfriends. Duan starts sensing the emergence of an ability in both Li Feng and Chen Jiahao, wondering if they are about to awaken. He recalls how, in his previous life, he heard that people can release surprising power in desperate situations and awaken their abilities. He's sure that Li Feng and Chen Jiahao are the same kind of people. Duan then tells them to be cautious, telling them not to show off and be careful of the poison on Joe's claws. Both boyfriends finally lunge forward to take their revenge, but Joe quickly blocks their attacks and retaliates with one of his own. While Blondie struggles to hold his ground, Whitehead pushes Joe back. However, the bastard quickly regains his balance even after being shoved. Joe starts to realize that these two aren't as weak as they used to be, and that thought is driving him crazy. The two lovers lunge at him again, and Joe becomes even angrier. He swings his claw and slashes, tearing Li Feng's bat into multiple pieces. Whitehead also gets struck by a hard punch to his guts. Li Feng's girlfriend quickly begs Duan to save them, saying they can't stand a chance against Joe. But Duan doesn't want to be an obstacle to their revenge or the chance for them to redeem themselves. He knows that the more desperate they become, the more potential can erupt from them. Meanwhile, Joe is having the time of his life beating the hell out of both of them. The girlfriend continues to plead with them to hurry, insisting that they're going to die at this rate. Finally, Duan decides to intervene because it seems like these guys aren't getting anywhere after all that beating. It looks like it's already too late though, as Li Feng has taken a massive toll on his body, leaving his girlfriend shouting in disbelief. Duan quickly leaps from his spot with the speed of a ninja to save his friend, but suddenly, he finds himself startled as an immense force pins him down to the ground. It looks like Jia Hao has awakened an ability related to gravity control, which is a B-level ability that can manipulate gravity in any location within its domain, with the magnitude depending on the user's capabilities. That is when we also notice that Li Feng has also started to awaken his ability. His body vanishes into a shadow, leaving Duan completely boggled. Li Feng has awakened an ability that is actually the rarest A-level ability known as Shadowbane. Li Feng quickly pops right behind this bastard, And as soon as this bastard tries to attack back, he finds his body too unable to move, and Li Feng quickly counters up a scythe using his shadow, and he cuts his mouth for being too noise. After cutting his mouth, Li Feng wonders which part he should cut next. If you ask me, I would love to see this bastard get castrated, but Li Feng decides to cut the arm that can turn into a beast claw. Without wasting a second, he slashes down and separates the hand from that man's body. That last attack was enough to end this bastard, and Li Feng has finally avenged his girlfriend. He is now nothing more than a bloodied mess who remains on the ground, dead. Suddenly, Li Feng gets overwhelmed and falls to his knees, coughing up copious amounts of blood. Duan quickly runs over to him and tells the others that Li Feng has been hit by Zhou Kang's poison. After all the movement, the poison must have spread throughout his entire body. Before they can tend to their friend's injuries, a sound reverberates through the area, and the building starts to shake a little. Duan quickly tells Jiahao to take everyone out of there and leave. Jiahao supports Li Feng and begins dragging him out while Duan decides to stay behind to deal with this gigantic monster. The monster sprouts its giant vines, demolishing the building. In the last few moments, as everyone escapes, Duan finds himself surrounded by sharp vines all around. This plant monster is so massive that it can be seen from far away. Jiahao and the others watch it from a distance, hardly believing their eyes as they realize this is the monster Zhou Kang has been raising. Seeing this, concern for Duan begins to creep into their minds. But it looks like their concern for Duan is unwarranted, as he is literally riding the monster like a Sigma male. He reveals that this creature is known as the Giant Overlord Flower. In his previous life, he'd heard something about forces being sent to suppress an S-level Overlord Flower. Though the monster was defeated, it had cost a lot of lives. However, the system quickly shows that this is just a D-level mutated plant, which makes Duan think the monster's energy frequency is still unstable since it just evolved a moment ago. He figures there shouldn't be any problem if he teams up with Goldie. Duan is in further shock when he hears the monster speak, as it seems to have developed self-awareness. The monster is furious because Duan killed the puppet, Zhou, who had been feeding it plenty of food in the form of humans and zombies. Duan doesn't appreciate the attitude this plant monster is giving him, so he launches himself at it. But the monster quickly throws spores from its face, which looks like a butthole. Duan quickly starts cutting down the roots to save himself. He reveals that mutated plants have a weakness, their metacrystal, hidden inside their bodies. The metacrystal is their life core, and if he can take it out, he can defeat the monster. He tries to absorb the monster directly, but he fails, and the system notification shows that the monster's body is too large for his absorption ability to work directly. Seems like Duan was already aware of this, and decides to head to where the metacrystal is located to finish it off. Meanwhile, Goldie is performing his role perfectly, fighting the monster. Duan smiles at the sight, then starts walking away. He tells Goldie not to eat the vines since they're poisonous. He says he's going inside to find the metacrystal and leaves the responsibility of defending the outside to Goldie. Once Goldie hears that the monster's vines are not edible, he looks annoyed and reluctantly spits out the vine he was holding under his jaw. The monster then starts talking to Goldie, asking why he's helping that human. It requests Goldie to join forces with it, saying it wants to absorb Duan because he has a lot of power. But Goldie flatly refuses, making it clear he won't work with something as ugly as this plant. Of course, the monster feels anger at hearing this insult. Meanwhile, Duan is making his way into the tunnels. As he walks, he notices that these tunnels are filled with digestive fluid, giving him confidence that the core is likely nearby. Suddenly, he spots something that looks like a zombie begging for food. Once it sees him, it tries to attack, but Duan quickly ducks away, only to realize there are even more monsters behind him. The entire place is crawling with what seems like all the people who had been fed to the monster, each repeating the last words they spoke while alive. Suddenly, the vines begin to coalesce, forming into a large face with a big grin plastered across that disgusting mug. The creature reveals to Duan that whenever it gets bored, it plays around with all these puppets. One of the monster ladies lunges at Duan, but he beheads her with such speed that it's impossible to tell when he even moved. The big face gets annoyed seeing Duan getting cocky. More of the monster puppets rush to attack, but all of them meet the same fate, falling quickly at Duan's hands. But then, the big face decides to play dirty. A new puppet appears, resembling Duan's sister, and she calls out to him for help. Well, this just pushes our boy's patience to its max. He is so furious that he blindly starts cutting down the vines with godly speed, clearing the path no matter how many the ugly face throws at him. He's not slowing down, determined to tear through everything in his way. Duan wandered around for a while and finally found the metacrystal stuck beneath some vines. As he stepped closer, the plant asked how he knew about the crystal core, but Duan didn't bother responding. Instead, he obliterated the vines and exposed the metacrystal to the open air. He was a bit surprised to see how small the metacrystal was, especially considering how huge the monster had been. Without wasting time, he activated his absorption ability. As soon as he extended his hand, roots popped out and started squeezing the life out of the monster's core. Just as the essence was being transferred into his body, Duan found himself inside the evolution tree. It was there he realized that the evolution tree, not him, had absorbed the Overlord flower. The shrine statue then explains that since the evolution tree is also a plant, it could directly absorb the essence of the monster plant, gaining purer energy for the evolution tree to evolve. Duan feels awkward, realizing that Goldie has already evolved to rank E, and now with the evolution tree leveling up, he's the only one left behind, even though he's supposed to be the master. In any case, the system reveals that if he upgrades it, he'll unlock a new skill called Ability Contract. This skill gives him the ability to sign a contract and gain an ability from the target. However, if the target dies, the contract fails, and the target must be human. The next notification informs Duan that the usage of the ability contract is based on its level, and the fragments absorbed while using the absorb ability can upgrade the contract. The system also reveals that there's a higher level monster in the area. This perks Duan up, and he realizes it must be around the Quinchuan Center. He decides to head outside and look for life energy first. Meanwhile, above ground, the monster falls lifelessly, leaving everyone outside wondering if Duan actually won. Li Feng tells Whitehead to go check on what happened to Duan. At the same time, Duan discovers an entire tub of life energy that could save Li Feng's life. Just then, Whitehead arrives, carrying Goldie in his hands, and asks Duan if he's okay, as everyone is worried about him. Duan quickly takes Goldie from Jia Hao and tells him to bring Li Feng and the others over immediately, because they need to detoxify the poison in Li Feng's body as soon as possible. Later, Duan places Goldie into the liquid to help him recover. 20 minutes pass, and now Li Feng is in the tub. Jia Hao finds it pretty magical how the poison inside Li Feng's body is being detoxified so easily. Duan then tells Jia Hao to get in the tub too, explaining that it can heal him as well, just like it did for Goldie. Whitehead also hops into the pond, and Duan reflects on how it will take some time for them all to finish absorbing the life energy. As he watches them, he thinks back to when he first unlocked Ability Contract. The first thought that came to his mind was their abilities. The fragments he collected earlier can upgrade the Ability Contract by 1 level, and with that, he can sign his first contract. Duan quickly activates his Ability Contract and places his hand on Li Feng's shoulder. Once he establishes the contract, he acquires the Shadowbane ability. Feeling satisfied, Duan decides to head out, telling Goldie to guard the place. Once outside, he resolves to gather ability fragments right away, and then form a contract with Jia Hao for his ability as well. He begins roaming the city streets in order to find zombies in the area, all while trying to adapt to the Shadowbane ability. Eventually, he stumbles upon a large horde of zombies and dives in, feasting on them as if he's at an all-you-can-eat buffet. Even after clearing out an entire buffet of zombies, Duan still feels the urge to find more ability fragments. However, something else grabs his attention, which is a strange aura nearby. It's definitely not from a zombie, but it's not human either. That's when we spot a zombie girl dancing, while a little girl sits on the shoulder of a massive, muscled zombie. The little girl seems to like the dancer's performance. The little girl hops down from her giant friend's shoulder and decides to play another game with him. But just as she's about to start, the big muscle-bound zombie notices something nearby. The hulking zombie scans the area, but it turns out he doesn't need to search for the source of the mysterious presence. Duan is already standing right next to the little girl, and it looks like our boy has also found that strange aura he had been looking for. The monster quickly charges at Duan, but he quickly decides to slash at the mindless brute. The little girl on the sidelines watches in fear and asks Duan who the hell he is and how he appeared so suddenly. She mentions that she has planted eyes everywhere around here, so she always knows when someone is approaching. Now Duan understands that the emotionless zombies he encountered earlier were set by this girl. Thankfully, he used Shadowbane to hide and didn't startle them. Otherwise, she would have definitely escaped before he got here. The girl is quite angry, and tells him to apologize immediately because he just killed her little bone zombie. That's when it sinks in for Duan that the girl seems to have the ability to control zombies. He squats down to her eye level and asks for her name. The girl looks annoyed and sticks her tongue out in response, making it clear she won't answer until he apologizes. Well, it looks like the silly girl just unintentionally revealed her name. Once Duan hears it, he remembers Anya from his past life and realizes she's the same person he knew. This girl is apparently an S-level warrior from his previous life, known as the Black Empress. He explains that after the outbreak in his previous life, the Black Empress was the first human to get infected by the virus. For some unknown reason, even though the virus destroyed her body, her consciousness remained intact. As a result, the Black Empress became a zombie with a human conscience. She possesses 2 abilities. The first is mental psychokinesis, which allows her to use strong mental power to destroy her opponent's consciousness. and the second is her special zombie control ability. Because of the Black Empress's powerful and unique existence, a divide arose among the humans. One side wanted to kill her, while the other wanted her to live. In the end, people treated her like a human, but the opposition never truly disappeared. Eventually, the Black Empress decided to travel alone, and as a result, rumors spread about her being cold-hearted and a bloodthirsty devil. But the innocent little Anya in front of Duan doesn't look like a devil at all. Now that we know the background of this little girl, it's no surprise that Duan wants her on his side. He immediately apologizes, saying he has no evil intentions and just wants to be friends with her. Of course, the girl bluntly denies it, insisting that everyone who comes to find Anya is a bad guy, and that she doesn't want to be anyone's friend. Duan asks her if she remembers the people who came looking for her. The girl thinks it over, realizing that Duan doesn't seem like a bad guy, and agrees to show him. She then draws some goofy-ass characters on the ground and reveals that just a few days ago, 2 people were trying to find her, but she successfully avoided them. She explains that a lot of people in black robes are targeting zombies and capturing them in large numbers. Suddenly, the ground beneath them begins to crack, and Anya frantically reveals that a power beast is nearby and usually comes out around this time to search for food. Without wasting any time, Duan quickly grabs Anya and leaps away, leaving the beast snapping at empty air. As they land, Duan tells her to hold on tight, then starts his descent like a meteor crashing down and takes out the monster in one fell swoop. The girl is left wide-eyed and amazed by his dazzling abilities and confident personality. He then asks her if she can control the beast. Anya shakes her head, admitting her ability isn't strong enough for that. In that case, Duan decides they should head back to his base for now, realizing it won't be safe here with another monster possibly lurking nearby. Once they finally make it back to their base, Anya is amazed to learn that Duan is the one who defeated the giant flower. Meanwhile, Goldie is sniffing around, and right at that moment, Duan appears with the girl in tow. His friends ask about the unknown girl, and Duan explains that he found her while patrolling and decided to bring her home. He then asks them if they felt anything after absorbing the life energy. Li Feng reveals that he can definitely sense a significant increase in his power. However, he seems more concerned about the ability Duan just used, since it actually belongs to Li Feng himself. Duan quickly admits that this is Shadowbane and explains that he has an ability that lets him borrow other abilities. Li Feng expresses his gratitude, saying he's sure Duan will use it better than he could. At that moment, Anya notices Goldie on the ground, which makes her a little scared. Duan promptly sets her down and turns to his 2 friends, telling them that the situation has changed and they need to start planning their next move. Duan reveals to his friends that the situation is becoming more complicated, with 2 additional unknown forces now in the mix. He warns that it will be very dangerous if they all stay here and suggests they return to the refuge and wait for him. As expected, both Li Feng and Jia Hao protest against this idea, but Duan reassures them, saying there's no need to worry about him, and reminds them that if Ningjing and Huan Huan are still here, they won't be able to move freely or safely. He promises them that Goldie will help them to escort them back to the refuge. Li Feng suggests that if it's so dangerous, they should all go back together. However, Duan explains that he can't do that because there might be important clues about his sister in the Quinchuan Center that he needs to investigate. They then ask about the little girl if she is not going back to the refugee. Duan decides that Anya will stay with him since she's a bit special, and he temporarily can't take her to the refuge. Meanwhile, it seems like poor Goldie is getting bullied by the little girl, who is tugging at him playfully. Later, they all hop onto Goldie's back, ready to depart. That's when Anya mentions that Goldie doesn't want to go to the refuge because he intends to stick with his master. She asks if she should use her powers to control him with her abilities. But ultimately, Goldie flies off toward the refugee camp without any resistance. Duan decides it's time to move as well and make his way toward the Quinchuan Center. The little girl, however, can barely ignore the riz and aura he's exuding. Once they're deep in the shadows, Duan reveals to her that they can move faster this way, and no one will notice them. If they keep going straight, they should arrive at their destination in about 10 minutes. But before heading toward the center, he decides to use his evolution points he earned from killing the zombies and the Overlord Flower. Duan currently has over 20,000 evolution points. He decides to dump most of them into boosting his agility and power, while allocating the rest to upgrade his scout ability. After acquiring Shadowbane, the range advantage of Scout has become even more useful. As he undergoes the upgrade, Duan starts exuding powerful energy and warns Anya to stay back. Although he didn't expect to upgrade this much, he can feel his strength approaching D level, even though he's still officially at F level. With that done, they finally set off on their journey toward the Quinchuan Center. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to a group of people talking. The group consists of a guy with a ponytail named Ah Long, a girl beside him called Hei Tao, a yellow-haired guy named Ah Ming, and a chubby fellow at the back named Jin Gang. The guy with yellow hair, Ah Ming, complains to their leader, Ah Long, about walking for so long without finding the ruins they've been searching for. Hei Tao quickly tells him to shut up and stop questioning their leader's judgment. Ah Long then looks at his map and says that the entrance to the ruins should be nearby. He then signals to Ah Ming, letting him know it's his turn to act. Ah Ming quickly understands what his master is trying to say, so he quickly squats down and touches the ground. Ah Ming's ability, known as density, is an A-level power that allows him to sense and manipulate the density of objects, as well as their molecular structure. Using this, he begins to search for any hidden pathways or entrances around the area. Hei Tao then asks why Sister Yun didn't come with them to explore the ruins. The leader, Ah Long, explains that she has her own mission. She came here to find someone, but after so many days of searching without success, she had to temporarily leave to continue her mission. Ah Ming finishes his investigation and reveals that there's a huge space below them, a perfect spot to make an entrance. Acknowledging this, Ah Long decides to proceed with the plan. Ah Ming, using his powers, transforms the road into a giant pit. As the group peers into the hole, the leader instructs them to prepare to enter the ruins. Meanwhile, we return to Duan, who has suddenly noticed a strange aura surfacing. Anya feels it too and admits she's quite scared. Just then, they come across a giant ape beast, already burned to death. Duan is sure this is the work of some humans, and what troubles him even more is the realization that these people came here with a specific motive in mind. Duan quickly realizes that the aura he felt earlier likely means the ruins have been opened, and those people might share the same goal as him. Without wasting time, he dashes forward with all the speed he can muster. After about 10 minutes of travel, he reaches the entrance he had been searching for. Just as he suspected, someone has already entered before him. He decides to go alone since he is not sure of what dangers lie inside, and tells Anya to wait outside. But of course, the stubborn little girl insists on coming along, saying she wants to go with big brother Duan. Well, now that she has called him brother, I don't think he can resist her. So eventually, Duan gives in, and they both enter the ruins together. The entire corridor is lit with side torches, and Duan can't help but remark that it's his first time entering ruins like this. As they move deeper, they come to a fork in the path. Judging by the destroyed knight armor scattered around, it's clear that the previous party went to the right. To avoid running into trouble, Duan decides they should take the left path instead. It's clear to Duan that the group must not have many members, which is why they chose only one path. For now, he thinks it's best to avoid unnecessary conflict. As they walk deeper into the corridor, they notice night puppets lined up along the walls. Still wary, Duan doesn't want to take any risks, so he tells Anya to stay back while he checks if these dummies are actually traps. Just as he expected, the night puppets suddenly shimmer with red energy and start slashing wildly, aiming to take him down. Without hesitation, Duan activates Shadowbane and smashes through all the armor in an instant. Anya notices something inside these puppets' armor and retrieves some kind of stone from the armor. It seems these pieces of iron junk had some kind of core that powered their movements. If he remembers correctly, these are called energy crystals, and they contain a lot of energy. While Anya was busy stuffing a ton of those energy crystals into her pouch, Duan casually tosses one away, saying they're the lowest grade and pretty much useless. Of course, this annoys the little girl, who thought she was hoarding something valuable, so she quickly dumps all the stones she'd gathered out of her pouch in frustration. Suddenly, a massive knight known as a war puppet appears, a level E monster. It swings its heavy sword, but the blade just passes through Duan, who vanishes from sight. Duan tries to infiltrate the puppet's body to destroy its core from within, but the war puppet quickly yanks him out of its armor, showing it's no pushover. Realizing he can't destroy the core directly, Duan shifts tactics and decides to go all out with physical force. He lunges at the puppet and slashes, breaking its arm in one move. Then, with a solid knee smash, he bends the war puppet like a crumpled soda can. The giant piece of junk finally collapses to the ground. Duan opens up the war puppet's body and discovers a middle-grade energy crystal inside. Alongside the crystal, he finds something else, which is a slab. He tosses the energy crystal to the excited Anya, but he keeps the slate for himself. Upon closer inspection, he realizes that there seems to be another half to this slab. Just then, the floor beneath them starts shaking, and a staircase emerges out of nowhere. Duan wonders if this slate is trying to guide them somewhere. Deciding to follow the guidance, he leads Anya further inside. As they venture deeper, they stumble upon a massive nest filled with nasty spiders crawling everywhere. Among them, Duan spots the biggest spider of all, and it would not be surprising if this thing might be guarding the other half of the slate. The large spider, known as the disastrous spider, is an E-level creature. As it and its swarm of smaller spiders launch themselves at Duan, my guy quickly counters and tries to slash the big spider over its eyes. However, the biggest spider retaliates by shooting lasers from its eyes, forcing Duan to dodge and reposition. He then takes a powerful leap and busts through the massive spider with a devastating blow. Once the entire area is cleared, Duan retrieves the other half of the mysterious slab along with something extra, which is a spirit crystal. This crystal can permanently increase the user's spirit by 10%, a useful but not particularly effective boost for Duan. Deciding it would be better suited for someone else, he gives the spirit crystal to Anya. When she holds it, her eyes widen in astonishment as the crystal fills her with newfound spirit power. He then explains to her that the spirit crystal is designed to enhance her mental power, which will make her abilities stronger. Duan then takes the 2 slate pieces and connects them. Once the pieces come together, a hologram projects from the slab, revealing a detailed map of the ruins inside the pyramid. The intricate lines must represent the pathways, while the gold and red dots likely indicate rewards and dangers, respectively. The most significant golden dots are located on the 3rd and 5th floors, which seem to have powerful guardians protecting those areas. Oddly, there is no visible path leading to the 3rd floor, leaving Duan to puzzle over how to proceed. Just as they are studying the hologram, something strange happens. The large spider they had just defeated starts to sink into the ground as the floor under it crumbles away. Right on cue, a star-shaped symbol appears. Duan quickly grabs the symbol, both he and Anya staring at it with curiosity. They have no idea what it is or what purpose it might serve, but it seems important, as if tied to the deeper secrets of the ruins. Duan and Anya carefully make their way toward the pit that opened up where the dead spider had fallen. Meanwhile, in the ruins' 5th floor, the group of awakeners continues down an endless corridor. As they finally enter a vast main chamber, their eyes are drawn to a sealed coffin at the center. Inside lies a woman, her serene face framed by long hair, cradling a slate called the Sacred Stone's broken arm in her hands. This was precisely what these guys had been seeking. The leader of the group instructs the chubby member to carefully retrieve the slate from the woman's grasp safely. Before they can act on their thoughts, a group of shady figures enters the place. It does not take long to recognize these cloaked bastards as Heaven's Tribulation. These cloaked figures start talking, spouting nonsense about how they are here to bestow divine retribution for the traitors of their god. Long just mocks them in return, saying how an organization that only hides in the shadows dares to call itself God and tells these rats to crawl back to their sewers. The cloaked guys quickly jump at Long, but he uses his fire abilities, and his friends also get ready to take these goons down. Meanwhile, on the 3rd floor of the ruins, we see our boy, who's been spiraling down into the depths for what feels like forever. Anya is feeling so exhausted that she is about to faint. Finally, they reach a door where Anya says she can feel a super scary aura coming from inside. Right at that moment, Duan starts choking. It seems like the Tree of Evolution is reacting again, and his body can sense that whatever the tree wants is just ahead. He uses his shadow abilities to stealthily scout the area. Duan finds it odd that the metacrystal is just sitting out in the open like that. He decides to use his stealth to absorb the metacrystal and avoid a battle. But as soon as he tries to sneak up, a giant knight made of stone begins to move. He kind of knew it wouldn't be that easy, so he tells the little girl to hide in the shadows while he deals with this mess. With that, he steps out of the shadows, and as soon as the knight swings its giant weapon down, he leaps away. He then charges toward the monster with his blades in hand. He realizes that the metacrystal is using its vines to control the statue, so he needs to act fast. Our guy tries to attack, but it seems like his strikes aren't very effective against this monster, so he leaps back. He decides to switch weapons because the daggers aren't cutting it, figuratively and literally. He leaps toward it once again. The monster tries to flatten him, but Duan slides smoothly across the ground. Then, with a quick move, Duan throws a vine over the knight's head. After roping its head, he drags the monster along with him at godly speed, causing it to crash hard into the ground. With the monster down for the count, Duan rushes toward the monster's head where the core is located. As soon as he's close enough, the Tree of Evolution pops up and begins draining all the energy from the core. Once the power absorption is complete, Duan is stunned to see that the evolution tree has transformed into an elegant lady. Her sudden appearance catches him completely off guard. She points her finger and a system window pops up before Duan's eyes. He notices that his L rank is about to change from F to E, as all the requirements for his evolution have been met. Naturally, as soon as he confirms it, Duan is now an E-level hunter, with all of his stats getting a nice level up by 1. His ability, Absorption, has also been upgraded to level 2. With that out of the way, Duan turns to the evolution tree lady, asking if he can call her by that name. She grants him permission, and Duan follows up with another question, asking why he was regressed and reborn in the past, and why he was chosen for this. The lady apologizes and says she can't answer that just yet. She reveals that she doesn't have any memory about the reasons behind his regression, but there's a voice in her head telling her that as long as Duan keeps evolving, he will eventually find answers to all these daunting questions. She further explains that his memories seem linked to his evolution, which is why his growth is so crucial. Before leaving, she adds that with her current power level, she can't exist in the real world for long, so she'll be retreating back into the system. Once she disappears, Duan deactivates his Shadowbane ability, and the little one reappears in the real world. He decides it's time to leave the place as quickly as possible. Suddenly, he notices the ground starting to leak with fire energy, and out pops a group of Awakeners. Ah Long and Duan even lock eyes for a moment. When those guys land back on solid ground, Ah Long comments on how he didn't expect to meet someone else here. They look around and realize there seems to be a floor they haven't explored yet. At the same time, we also see those black-robed figures, the ones who were spouting nonsense about retribution. Duan asks if these people are the ones Anya met before. Anya confirms that the black-robed figures are the same, but she's not sure about the man with the ponytail. Those robe bastards quickly start demanding the Sacred Stone's broken arm with such confidence, as if their mother left it to them as an inheritance. But the ponytail guy makes it clear they aren't returning a shit, let alone the Sacred Stone. However, the yellow-haired friend of the ponytail guy reminds his boss that these shady figures have already injured Jinggang and Heitao, so he's not sure if they can even take them on right now. Duan quickly realizes that these guys seem to be fighting over the treasure. Ponytail turns to our boy and introduces himself as Ah Long, expecting Duan to share his name as well. Of course, Duan introduces himself too and asks Ah Long why he should help him, considering the enemies don't seem easy to deal with. Duan scans the cloaked figures and learns their D grade. Ah Long reminds Duan that if they don't stop these guys now, everyone will be killed, because these robed figures are actually zombies. Duan is shocked to hear this and wonders if these black-robed people are really zombies. After taking a closer look, he notices they have some kind of special aura that feels oddly familiar, something he sensed before. It doesn't take long for him to remember the primordial zombie he had encountered, and he realizes these creatures carry the same primordial seed's aura. Finally, he decides to step up, telling the Yellowhead to stay behind and protect Anya. Of course, the Yellowhead gets mad at being ordered around by someone of a lower level, but Duan wastes no time and quickly leaps toward the zombies. As one of the zombies retaliates with their vines, Duan cuts them down with his daggers. One of the zombies tries to sneak up on Duan, but Ah Long quickly throws his own attack, saving Duan from getting ambushed. Ponytail further tells Duan not to act too rashly. He commands Duan to stay on the sidelines while he takes care of things. Duan finds it impressive that this guy is a D-level awakener with such fast reaction speeds, and his ability is an A-level. Ah Long further warns our boy that these zombies aren't easy to deal with and that even a small injury means nothing to them. Ignoring the warning, Duan leaps toward the zombies again and slashes down one of them immediately, leaving Yellowhead jaw-dropped as he watches my guy take down the monster with just one swing. Ah Long is surprised too, but not completely shocked, as it's something he had already expected from our boy. Duan just snapped up 600 evolution points from taking down a single zombie. The other guy starts to feel a bit tense, while Duan can't help but snicker, thinking how these primordial seeds all fancied themselves as gods, which means he's a god killer now. The remaining zombie quickly retreats to put some distance between them and, in utter rage, transforms into a massive, hulking creature. Duan looks terrified to see this because he remembers fighting a primordial zombie before. He quickly shouts Yellowhead to take Anya away from here. The yellow-haired guy grabs the girl like a sack of potatoes and starts to retreat. Meanwhile, Ah Long stays alongside Duan, ready to take down this monster to get revenge for injuring his other friends. Once the transformation is complete, the monster has turned into a C-grade beast with its massive body. The creature quickly leaps at Duan, but he nimbly jumps away from the incoming attack. The vines try to ensnare Ah Long, but he quickly burns them away. I've got to say, even though Ah Long is just an E-level awakener, he stays incredibly calm while dealing with a C-level zombie. The flames he throws do nothing to the beast. They just dissipate like it was nothing. The zombie feels proud of his own powers, and starts boasting that whatever they do is useless because the god's power is invincible. Duan, however, is determined to prove this fathead wrong. He leaps into the sky, crashing down with his own blade. The zombie swings its weapon to meet him, and the clash of their weapons lights up the entire area. The clash with the monster makes one thing clear to Duan. This creature is stronger than the primordial seeds he's faced before, and it seems like they're evolving at a surprising speed. Still, Duan remains confident because he's not the same weak guy he used to be. Using his shadow abilities, Duan charges at the monster. This time he relies solely on Shadowbane and his enhanced body attributes to finish it. Yellowhead is left jaw-dropped, watching how someone like Duan, an E-level awakener, is holding his own against this powerful creature. His leader, Ah Long, admits he doesn't know how this is even possible, because he's just as shocked as everyone else. Finally, Duan delivers a solid kick to the monster's face, sending it sliding across the ground. By now, Ah Long is confident that Duan could probably take down the monster alone. But our boy explains that the creature's defense is too high, making it hard to land a fatal blow with the weapons he has. He then reveals he has a way to deal with the monster, but he needs time to prepare. Ah Long starts exuding a dark, ominous energy, ready to buy Duan the time he needs. However, the zombie seems to be losing patience and quickly leaps toward Duan, ready to strike. Ah Long isn't about to let the zombie get past him, especially with his pride on the line. He doesn't want to appear weaker compared to Duan, so he quickly uses his powers to attack the monster. He's handling the creature pretty well and feeling a bit of satisfaction seeing it shut up for a moment. But after a while, he shouts to Duan, warning him that he can't hold the monster off much longer. Duan acknowledges this and quickly makes his way to the giant knight he had defeated earlier, aiming to grab its massive spear. Meanwhile, the monster grows furious and throws its vines at Ah Long, who's now barely dodging and running for his life. But finally, Duan throws the giant spear from a distance, and it strikes the monster square in the face, knocking the beast out cold with one powerful hit. Ah Long is utterly bamboozled, not expecting Duan to lift that massive spear, let alone take out the monster in one go. It seems Ah Long spoke too soon, because that bastard of a zombie is actually holding the spear in its hands, contrary to what they thought. Ah Long tenses up at this sight, realizing this was their only chance to finish the monster off, but now it looks like they've missed that opportunity. The monster quickly tries to strike Duan with the giant spear, but Duan manages to grab it with his bare hands. The monster's feet begin to tremble as it struggles to overpower Duan. To make matters worse for the zombie, Ah Long joins Duan to help, which only infuriates the creature even more. It snarls that it's now going to crush both of them at the same time. Ah Long activates one of his skills, vowing to defeat the monster. Meanwhile, the creature starts exerting its own force, making the blondie struggle even more than he anticipated. He hadn't expected the monster to have any remaining power. The monster is bewildered, literally sweating balls as it finds itself getting overpowered. What's more boggling to him is that he feels like his mind is getting hijacked by somebody. Right on cue, he utters that Anya is the world's #1 cute girl, which gives both boys the opening they need to finish the bastard off. Of course, it's Anya who used her zombie control ability. After exerting herself for just a few seconds against such a powerful monster, she's completely exhausted. With the monster finally down, Duan offers his hand to help Ah Long up. But my guy doesn't waste any time. He uses his contract ability to take Ah Long's flame abilities as well. It's unclear what kind of contract this is, though, since contracts usually require the consent of the opposing party. Now that they've taken care of the main threat, Ah Long reveals that the black-robed people belong to an organization called Heaven's Tribulation. They're very mysterious, and it's nearly impossible to track them down. Duan asks what their goal is exactly. Ah Long admits he's not sure about that, but he knows they're constantly capturing zombies. Just then, two of Ponytail's friends walk out from the inner floors. Duan asks them how they found out about this place. The guys explain that they're mercenaries who arrived here on a mission, and they're not entirely clear about their employer either. Ponytail calls for Jing Gang to come over, and the fatty quickly retrieves the Sacred Stone's broken arm. Ponytail shows it to Duan, stating that since Duan is the one who eliminated Heaven's Tribulation, this belongs to him as well. Ponytail shares that if it hadn't been for Duan, they would have been dead by now. Duan just gives a faint smile, saying they can keep the stone since retrieving it was part of their mission. It's no surprise that Duan isn't interested in some random stone, because he's already gained something far more valuable, which is Ah Long's abilities. He then hands over a photo of his sister and requests that if they find her, they should report back to him. Ponytail agrees to help Duan in this endeavor. Meanwhile, it looks like Fatty's condition is quite serious. Seeing their friend in distress, Ah Long decides it's time to take his leave. They exchange contact information before parting ways. As the group begins to leave, Yellowhead suggests to his senior that they should team up to attack Duan and snatch any treasure he might have acquired from the underground floors. But Ah Long decides to pass on that idea and points out that it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that even if they were in better condition, they might not be able to defeat Duan. After all, during the battle just now, he hadn't even used half of his real strength. Meanwhile, Anya asks Duan why he didn't take their treasure, feeling a bit sad that he passed it up. My guy just gives a faint smile, explaining that after interacting with Ah Long, he feels he's not a bad person, so it was just a gesture of goodwill toward him. While he's not thrilled about the fact that Ah Long hid his identity, he believes there must be a strong reason behind it. The little one then asks what they're going to do next. Duan replies that they will continue exploring this place and use the crystals to help her get stronger. Plus, he wants to learn more about the badge they found on the previous floor. With that, they decide to start exploring the 4th floor. As they step into the ruins' 4th floor, they notice the same massive puppets down here, all of which are mid-level monsters. Duan quickly activates one of his newly acquired powers and tells Anya to leave the rest to him, saying it's a good time to try out the flame ability he snagged. All of the monsters attack him at once, but Duan leaps out of the way and strikes back hard. He's so overpowering that he literally obliterates every monster in his sight. After thoroughly checking his flame powers, he realizes he needs to finish this fight quickly since he doesn't have much time to waste. He quickly conjures fire in his hand and decides to be moderate with it. Otherwise, he might blow up the entire ruins. With that, he unleashes a massive storm of fire that burns and melts those tin cans right away. He then calls out to Anya to gather all the crystals, and the little lady cheerfully starts running with her tiny feet to grab all the stones for herself. That's when she suddenly begins to cry, saying that the red-colored stone he had given her is now gone. He asks if she dropped it in the chaos, to which she replies that she isn't sure, as her bag was zipped tightly. He then tells her to try absorbing another stone, and as soon as she does, the stone disappears. Well, it seems like the mystery behind the missing stone has been solved. As expected, because of Anya's special trait, she doesn't kill zombies, but tames them. This means she won't gain experience to upgrade her own level, but instead, she can directly absorb energy from items and use it to evolve. Duan encourages her to gobble up all the energy stones, assuring her that she'll get stronger in no time. Meanwhile, a disgusting zombie lurks nearby, looking anything but thrilled to see the duo so happy. Finally, Anya manages to evolve herself into an E-level awakener. Duan congratulates her on this achievement, and the girl looks pretty happy about it. Right at that moment, they start to sense something scary coming from the other direction. Duan suspects it's coming from the 5th floor, so they decide to explore it further. As they enter the 5th floor, there's no road ahead, just a crystal coffin, likely the treasure of this floor. Anya gets the feeling there should have been someone inside this coffin, so there are chances that there could be another treasure guardian lurking. The atmosphere suddenly shifts, freaking Anya out, and right then, a monster tries a sneaky attack on them. But Duan doesn't even move. He punches that old hag with such ease, he looks almost otherworldly. Duan figures the monster was triggered because of the stone slate Ah Long and his group took from here. Anya tries to control the zombie but fails miserably. Well, it's not surprising that she can't control this zombie since she had exhausted herself already. The old hag lunges from her place again, trying to scratch Duan with her rat-like sharp nails. But my guy ducks right away. She swings her hand again, but he quickly steps back using his shadow powers, avoiding her crackling energy. She tries to attack him once more, but this time, Duan summons a giant shadow hand and tries to squash her like a bug. As soon as the monster is defeated, he gains 600 evolution points and manages to absorb her thunder ability. However, he still needs to absorb 98 more abilities to fully unlock it. After taking down the monster, the coffin starts to rise into the air, and the circle on the wall flips over, revealing a space to place the star symbol our boy snagged from the other floor. He quickly slots that star symbol right into place, and after some mojo, the gates swing open, revealing yet another batch of stairs to descend. They walk down the corridor, and the little girl explains that she can fight again after this. Duan agrees with her, telling her that if they encounter a strong opponent, they'll fight together. Duan thinks that if they meet a suitable zombie, he'll let Anya try to tame it. But for now, he has to handle things himself. To absorb Along's ability, he had to use all his remaining ability fragments, so he needs to collect more. They finally come across a muscular zombie, a grade E-level berserker. Duan quickly stops Anya from trying to tame this one, telling her it's too strong and to leave it to him. The monster throws down its giant weapon, but Duan slides away smoothly, then lunges forward, trying to pierce the brute with his own blade. The brute blocks the incoming attack, but Duan quickly uses his absorption ability to drain all its power. The system rewards him with 400 evolution points for defeating the zombie and 25 berserk ability fragments. The girl points ahead, where they see hundreds of zombie soldiers swarming the place. But Duan is not afraid of anything. He activates his Shadow Bane and demolishes all the zombies in his path, earning a ton of evolution points and ability fragments. He's exhausted afterward, but he's not complaining because it was worth it. Now he's gathered almost 40,000 evolution points. After having collected a good amount of ability fragments, Duan decides to leave the energy crystals for Anya to absorb. He knows he needs to seize the moment, gather more evolution points to get stronger, and recover the lost memories of his evolutionary tree as well. They finally reach the end of the 2nd floor and stand before a massive gate, ready to enter the final floor. As they open the gate, a swarm of owls rushes out, but these aren't ordinary owls, they're beasts. Duan quickly uses his shadow ability to hide the girl within his shadow for safety, but she protests against it because she won't hide behind him anymore. She's evolved and can take care of herself. She leaps away, creating a safe distance, then stretches out her tiny hands, awakening her abilities to control the beastly owls. As another owl rushes at her to attack, the girl successfully takes control of one of the owls, and it quickly takes down the other one. Duan realizes that Anya really can handle herself, and starts beating himself up for being overly protective. He had started to see her as his sister, Xinyue, which made him more cautious. Suddenly, a massive owl crashes the scene. Duan quickly tells Anya to tame it, as it seems to be the leader of the group and is much stronger. But Anya refuses, saying she doesn't want it as her partner. Instead, she points out that the little white owl she's already tamed has a huge amount of energy inside it, and even possesses an S-level ability. She focuses on sneaking into its consciousness, helping it tap into its full potential, and within moments, she takes down the big owl right away. More of the big owls loom over their little furry friend, so Anya encourages her companion, telling it that it's much stronger than all of them. Her confidence fuels the owl, and it transforms into the ninja of the owl world, smashing down foes left and right like it's no big deal. In seconds, the owl takes down all the other monsters effortlessly. Anya hugs her pet tightly to her heart while Duan smirks, pleased they've found a new partner. But he reminds her it's not the time to celebrate because something huge is approaching. Right at that moment, more owls swarm the area, followed by a giant owl beast with the ability of gigantification,